Chapter 41, The Investigation Report. The laughter from their previous conversation had yet to fade. The 5 Uchihas continued sipping their tea beneath the evening sky. Suddenly, a silver file folder materialized in front of the husky with a pop. The husky caught it effortlessly. Oh, a wide grin spread across his face. Great, it finally arrived. He opened the file. As he read the first few pages, his smile became wider and wider. Then, he burst into uncontrollable laughter. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, I knew it. The 5 looked at him in confusion. The husky slapped the table while laughing. So that's how it was. You 4 were always there. In the background, drinking tea. Ha 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 ha. Daichi blinked. What file? The husky finally calmed himself enough to answer. This. He held up the folder. It's an investigation report, about several parallel versions of your ninja world. The 5 immediately became interested. Parallel worlds? Ren asked. The husky nodded. I became curious after looking into your past. So I asked another system to investigate timelines where the host never existed. He flipped through several pages. The results are hilarious. He looked toward Kyan. In every timeline, the 4 of you still chose to hide. Kyan wasn't surprised. Sounds like us. The husky continued reading. You still avoided becoming famous. You still hid your true strength. You still researched your own techniques. And, he couldn't stop himself from laughing again. You still found different ways to obtain the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Akira adjusted his glasses. So even without the system, we solved the problem. The husky nodded. Eventually. Some timelines took decades, others only a few years. But every investigation reached the same conclusion. You 4 absolutely refused to steal another Uchiha's eyes. Shun smiled faintly. As expected, the husky turned another page. Oh, this part is even better. He began reading aloud. Fourth Shinobi World War. Observation report. Unknown location. 4 unidentified masked men were observed sitting on a distant mountain overlooking the battlefield. The 4 individuals consumed popcorn and cola while silently watching the war. When asked by a white Zetsu why they weren't participating, one of them reportedly replied, "We're on vacation." Silence. Then, Daichi burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, that actually sounds like something we do. The husky continued reading. In another timeline, when Madara activated the infinite Tsukuyomi, you simply activated a massive ceiling barrier around your mountain. Then went back inside to continue your research. Ren covered his face. That also sounds like us. The husky nodded. Oh, it gets even better. In one timeline, the allied shinobi forces spent 3 days searching for mysterious cage-level reinforcements. They never found them. He looked at the report. Because, you 4 were fishing at the coast. Kyan calmly took another sip of tea. We had no obligation to join the war. The husky laughed. Exactly. Every investigation reached the same conclusion. No matter how history changed. No matter who became stronger. No matter who won. You 4 always chose the same lifestyle. Hiding, researching, drinking tea, and pretending the ninja world didn't exist. He closed the report with a satisfied smile. I've investigated thousands of users. But I've never seen personalities this consistent across parallel worlds. Shun smiled. So, the butterfly effect really had nothing to do with them. The husky nodded. Nothing. They were always like this. He pointed toward the 4 of them. They're simply professional background characters. The courtyard immediately erupted with laughter. Even Kyan couldn't deny it this time. Perhaps, in every version of the ninja world, there had always been 4 anonymous Uchihas quietly sitting on a distant mountain, watching history unfold with tea, popcorn, and absolutely no intention of getting involved. Chapter 42, A Gift Before Departure. The next 5 days passed peacefully. Every morning, the 5 Uchihas entered a dungeon. Every afternoon, they returned home to analyze what they had learned. Every evening, they gathered around the wooden table for tea. Then they slept. The same routine repeated every day. Simple, peaceful, efficient. On the evening of the 6th day, the husky quietly looked at the setting sun. He sighed. My vacation ends today. The 5 looked toward him. So soon? Ren asked. The husky nodded. Work doesn't stop just because I'm on vacation. He waved his paw. 5 black suitcases suddenly appeared beside the table. They opened automatically. Inside each one was a sleek black laptop. The husky pushed one toward each of them. I ordered these for you. The 5 looked at the unfamiliar devices. Daichi tilted his head. Laptops. The husky nodded proudly. These should reduce your workload. They're fully connected to my management system. He patted his own briefcase. I use one too. Although, he smiled smugly. Mine is a much more powerful version. Shun picked one up. It felt surprisingly light. The moment he opened it, the screen activated automatically. Instead of a normal operating system, a blue interface appeared. Dungeon Management System, User Administration, Dungeon Records, Contract Management, Subordinate Recruitment, Mission Assignment, Performance Evaluation. Akira's eyes immediately lit up. So much information. The husky smiled. Be careful. These things are far more powerful than you imagine. They aren't ordinary computers. They're management terminals. They can process millions of users simultaneously. Ren smiled. Of course, a tool designed to manage an interdimensional business has to be powerful. The husky nodded approvingly. Exactly. He looked around at the five of them. Well, the delivery is complete. My vacation officially ends today. I should get back to work. Just as he was about to leave, Shun suddenly called out. Wait. The husky turned around. What is it, host? Shun thought for a moment. Can you make, or buy, a large number of phones for us? The husky blinked, then looked completely offended. Host, I'm a dungeon leveling system, not a shop system. Kyan suddenly spoke. Then, what exactly is the shop function inside our status panels? We even bought the eye cloning method from it. The husky laughed. Oh, so that's what you were wondering. He pointed toward Shun's status panel. The shop you see isn't actually mine. The five looked surprised. It belongs to a shop system. He's an old friend of mine. The husky smiled nostalgically. We've known each other since we were newly created. Through my panel, you're simply connecting to one of his branches. Ren blinked. So, we've been shopping somewhere else this whole time. Exactly. The husky nodded. If you need ordinary items, use the normal shop. But if you want something custom made, you can place an order directly. I've already granted your group permission. Akira immediately became interested. So, we can request completely original creations, as long as you can afford them. The husky shrugged. And don't worry about quality. My friend has many things, but dishonest isn't one of them. He always gives reasonable prices, especially to my hosts and users. He pointed toward the laptops. Even these, I ordered from him. Daichi looked at his laptop with new appreciation. So, there's an entire business network between systems. The husky grinned. You've only seen a tiny corner of it. He took one final look at the five Uchihas. Keep growing. The stronger you become, the more of this universe you'll be allowed to see. A golden portal slowly opened behind him. The husky stepped inside. Just before disappearing, he waved without looking back. Don't cause too much trouble while I'm gone. The portal closed. Silence returned to the hidden mountain. The five looked at the laptops before them. Ren smiled. I have a feeling our workload just became much easier. Kyan slowly closed his laptop. Or, much larger. No one argued with that. They had just been handed the tools needed to manage an interdimensional organization. Their quiet life was slowly becoming much bigger than the ninja world. Chapter 43, The Foundation. The five Uchihas remained seated around the table. The newly acquired laptops rested in front of them. No one spoke for several minutes. Finally, Kyan looked at Shun. So, why were you asking about phones? And, what exactly are phones? The other three also looked toward Shun. Since he was the only reborn person, only he understood the technology from his previous life. Shun smiled faintly. I'm surprised none of you asked sooner. He took a sip of tea before continuing. Tell me, how are we supposed to recruit users? The four exchanged glances. Shun continued. Are we going to personally visit every village and invite people one by one? Kyan thought for a moment, then shook his head. If we do that, people will think we're some strange cult. Ren nodded. And every hidden village will immediately investigate us. They'll think we're building a secret organization. We'd expose our existence long before we were ready. Akira added. And explaining the dungeon system to every individual would take forever. Shun nodded. Exactly. He looked toward the distant mountains. The people of the ninja world aren't ready to see the dungeon leveling system directly. If we suddenly tell them, kill monsters in another dimension to become stronger, they'll either attack us, or think we've gone insane. The others couldn't argue. Shun smiled. So, we first build the foundation. The technological foundation. Daichi tilted his head. Using phones. Yes. Shun nodded. He picked up a small stick and began drawing in the dirt. A phone is a portable communication device. It allows two people to communicate instantly, no matter how far apart they are. Akira immediately became interested. Instant communication. Shun nodded. It has many functions. Voice calls, so people can talk to each other. Messages, so they can communicate through text. Group chats, so entire teams can coordinate. Maps, so people can navigate anywhere. And, he smiled. Video calls. The four looked confused. Shun continued. It allows two people to see and hear each other from opposite sides of the world. Silence. Daichi blinked. That's impossible. Shun laughed. It was impossible in my previous world too. Until someone invented it. Kaien had already begun analyzing the idea. If every shinobi carried one, information could spread across the continent in seconds. Ren smiled. No more messenger hawks. Akira added. And no more waiting weeks for reports. Shun nodded. Exactly. But, he pointed at the laptops. That's only the first step. The others looked at him. Once everyone becomes accustomed to phones, they'll become comfortable with advanced technology. Only then, we introduce the dungeon system. Ren frowned. How? Shun smiled. We don't call it a dungeon. We don't call it another dimension. We introduce it as a game. The four froze. A game? Daichi asked. Shun nodded. People won't fear a game. They'll try it out of curiosity. They'll compete with friends. They'll compare levels. They'll share strategies. Kaien's eyes slowly widened, and before they realize it, they'll actually become stronger. Shun smiled. Exactly. When people discover that this game genuinely increases their strength, they'll come on their own. We won't need to recruit anyone. They'll line up to enter. Akira nodded thoughtfully. So instead of convincing people, we let the results convince them. Ren laughed. That's much easier than knocking on every village's door. Kaien leaned back in his chair. Our role isn't to chase users. It's to build a system that attracts users by itself. Shun nodded. That's how every successful platform grows. You don't force people to join. You create something valuable, and they come willingly. The courtyard became quiet once again. The five looked at the laptops, then at each other. For the first time, they weren't planning the growth of 5 individuals. They were planning the technological foundation of an entire world. Chapter 44, Designing the Future. The next morning, the 5 gathered around the laptops the Husky had left behind. Shun opened the custom order interface connected to the shop system. A blue window appeared. Custom product design. Submit specifications. Estimated price will be calculated after review. Shun smiled. Let's begin. The other 4 pulled their chairs closer. This wasn't just ordering a phone. They were designing the future of the ninja world. Shun began typing. The phone shouldn't rely on ordinary electronics. It should be built entirely from sealing techniques. Akira nodded immediately. That would make repairs much easier. Shun continued. More specifically, self-reorganizing seals. Kaien looked interested. So the seal formula repairs itself. Exactly. Shun nodded. If new functions are added later, we won't need to replace everyone's phones. The seal structure simply reorganizes itself. Akira smiled. Like living software. Exactly. Shun continued typing. Next, the power source. Daichi immediately spoke. No batteries. Shun nodded. Correct. He added another line. Self-recharging energy seal. Capable of absorbing energy from the surrounding environment. He continued listing energy sources. Natural energy. Sunlight. Moonlight. Ambient chakra. If necessary, even ordinary heat. Ren smiled. So, people never need to charge their phones. Shun nodded. Exactly. If we're introducing technology into the ninja world, it should be better than the technology from my previous world. Kaien crossed his arms. No charging stations. No replacement batteries. Very practical. Shun continued. The operating system should also be seal-based. No mechanical parts. No electronic circuits. Everything runs through programmable sealing arrays. Akira's eyes lit up. That means, updating applications becomes much easier. Shun smiled. Exactly. Apps become seal scripts. They can be created, modified, and distributed almost instantly. Ren laughed. So programmers become seal masters. Shun nodded. Pretty much. Then he reached the most important section. Default applications. He began typing. Voice call. Messages. Contacts. Group chat. Maps. Camera. Gallery. Calendar. Clock. Notes. Music. Video player. File manager. Calculator. Browser. App store. Akira added. We should also include an emergency distress signal. Kaien nodded. An encrypted communication. Ren smiled. A training journal. Daichi raised his hand. And a food delivery app. The other 4 stared at him. What? Daichi scratched his head. It'll be useful someday. Everyone laughed. Shun smiled before adding one final section. Administrative authority. He typed slowly. Every phone will connect to R5 management terminals. The entire communication network. The application updates. The security. The emergency broadcasts. Everything. He looked at the others. We'll control the foundation, but not the people. Kaien nodded in approval. Good. If we control information, we never need to rule directly. Akira leaned back in his chair. This is no longer just a communication device. It's the foundation of an entirely new civilization. Shun pressed submit. The request disappeared. A new message appeared almost instantly. Custom order received. Estimated completion time, under review. Design complexity, extremely high. The five quietly stared at the screen. Ren smiled. We've officially taken the first step. Shun closed the laptop. No. He looked toward the distant horizon. We've taken the first step. Toward dragging the ninja world into the future. Chapter 45, the quotation. The next morning, none of the five entered a dungeon. Instead, all five gathered around Shun's laptop. The custom order they had submitted yesterday had already received a reply. A blue notification appeared. Custom design review complete. Designer, shop system. Status, accepted. Daichi blinked. That was fast. Shun smiled. I guess the shop system works just as efficiently as the Husky. He opened the reply. A new message appeared. Customer, your requested design is possible. However, several specifications have been optimized. Akira immediately became interested. Optimized. Shun continued reading. Recommendation 1. Replace ordinary communication seals with spatial resonance seals. Result. Unlimited communication range inside the same world. Ren whistled. So, no signal towers. No communication infrastructure. Shun nodded. Apparently not. He continued. Recommendation 2. Replace fixed application architecture with modular seal architecture. Users may download, remove, or update applications individually. Akira smiled. So apps become independent seal modules. Much better. Another recommendation appeared. Recommendation 3. Replace ordinary storage seals with pocket storage seals. Storage capacity becomes practically unlimited for civilian use. Daichi's eyes widened. So people can carry their entire libraries inside one phone. Kyan nodded. Useful. Shun scrolled further. Recommendation 4. Administrator authority. 5 primary administrator accounts. Unlimited secondary administrator accounts. Full network management supported. Kyan smiled. So the network can keep expanding. Shun nodded. Exactly. He continued reading. Recommendation 5. Future compatibility with virtual consciousness spaces reserved. Current function disabled. Ren frowned. Virtual consciousness. Shun smiled. Probably something we'll unlock much later. The five continued reading every recommendation. Finally, the last page appeared. It wasn't another recommendation. It was a quotation. Estimated production cost. Prototype development. 2,000 gold coins. Silence. Daichi slowly looked up. 2,000. Ren laughed helplessly. We're broke. Akira remained calm. That's only the prototype. If it works, we can manufacture the rest ourselves. Kyan nodded. The price is reasonable. What we're asking for is an entirely new civilization. Shun smiled. I expected it to cost even more. At the bottom of the quotation, another handwritten note appeared. Unlike the rest of the document, it seemed much more casual. Message from the shop system. Since you're Old Husky's first management team, I'll give you a discount. Asterisk. Normally, this design would cost at least 10,000 gold coins. Asterisk. Don't embarrass my friend. Asterisk. The five looked at each other. Ren laughed. So, the Husky really does have connections everywhere. Daichi grinned. I like this shop system already. Kyan closed the laptop. Then nothing changes. The others looked toward him. We continue our routine. Dungeons. Research. We save up the gold coins. When we reach 2,000, we'll buy the prototype. Shun nodded. And once the prototype succeeds, the ninja world will enter a completely new era. Outside, the hidden mountain remained as peaceful as ever. None of the people living beyond the ceiling barrier knew that 5 hidden Uchihas were quietly designing a future where information would travel faster than shinobi themselves. Chapter 46, Dividing the Work. The next morning, the 5 gathered inside the research room. The quotation from the shop system was still displayed on Shun's laptop. 2,000 gold coins. That number had become their next goal. Kyan looked around the room. Buying the prototype is only the beginning. The real challenge comes afterward. The others nodded. Designing the phone was one thing. Building an entire communication network was something else entirely. Kyan stood up and walked to the blackboard. We'll divide the work. He wrote 5 names. Shun, Akira, Ren, Daichi, Kyan. Then he began assigning responsibilities. Shun, you're responsible for the operating system. Since you know how modern phones work, you'll design every application's functions. Shun nodded. No problem. Kyan paused, then continued. Akira, You're responsible for system optimization and memory management. If thousands of applications are installed, the system must remain stable. Akira adjusted his glasses. I'll make sure everything runs efficiently. Kyan nodded. Good. He then tapped his own name on the board. As for seal architecture, I'll handle it. The self-reorganizing seals, the self-recharging energy seals, and future expansion. The others weren't surprised. Kyan was their undisputed sealing master. If anyone could build a stable and scalable seal network, it was him. He looked toward Ren. You'll design the user interface. Ren blinked. Me. Kyan smiled. You've always had the best artistic sense among us. We need something ordinary people can understand. Not another page filled with sealing formulas. Ren sighed. I guess that's true. He accepted the task. Kyan turned toward Daichi. You. Daichi grinned. I already know. I'm the tester. Exactly. Kyan nodded. You'll try to break every prototype. If you can destroy it, we redesign it. If you can't, it's ready. Daichi laughed loudly. Finally. A research project made specifically for me. Everyone smiled. Finally. Kyan wrote another note under his name. I'll also handle the network, the communication protocols, the administrator permissions, the security. If someone tries to tamper with the system, I'll make sure they fail. Shun looked at the blackboard. That covers everything. Kyan nodded. Not quite. He drew another circle in the center. Dungeon grinding. Our research doesn't stop, but neither does our cultivation. We still need gold coins. He quickly wrote a new schedule. Morning, clear 1 dungeon. Afternoon, research and development. Evening, tea and discussion. Night, personal training or rest. Ren smiled. Back to our usual routine. Kyan nodded. Our lives don't change. Our projects simply become bigger. Akira suddenly looked toward Shun. Once the prototype is finished, who becomes the first user? Everyone became silent. Shun smiled faintly. We do. We'll use it for several months. We'll fix every bug. We'll improve every function. Only after we're satisfied, will we let anyone else touch it. Daichi nodded. If we're asking people to trust our creation, we should trust it first. Kyan erased the quotation from the laptop screen. Then it's decided. Our first priority. Earn 2,000 gold coins. Our second. Complete the prototype. Our third. Quietly change the ninja world. Outside the hidden barrier, the Third Shinobi World War was drawing to its final days. The great villages continued fighting one another. None of them realized that hidden within a forgotten mountain, 5 anonymous Uchihas had begun building something far more revolutionary than any forbidden jutsu. Not a weapon, not a bloodline, but a network that one day could connect the entire world. Chapter 47, the first prototype. 3 months passed quietly. Nothing changed in the hidden mountain. Every morning, the 5 entered a dungeon. Every afternoon, they worked on the phone project. Every evening, tea, discussion, research. Their routine never changed. Only their strength did. After 3 months of continuous dungeon grinding, their levels had reached level 23. The gold coin balance had also continued increasing. Finally, one afternoon, a notification appeared on Shun's laptop. Current gold coins 2,143. Daichi jumped from his chair. We finally have enough. Ren smiled. Order it. Shun nodded. Without hesitation, he opened the shop system. The custom order was still waiting. He pressed purchase. The gold coin balance instantly decreased. 2,000 gold coins deducted. Prototype production started. Estimated delivery time 10 minutes. Daichi blinked. 10 minutes. Akira smiled. I suppose an interdimensional shop doesn't need factories. They quietly waited. Exactly 10 minutes later, a small spatial portal opened above the table. A black box slowly descended. It landed gently in front of Shun. A silver note rested on top. Handle with care. Version 1.0 prototype. Thank you for your purchase. Shop system. Ren laughed. He even included a thank you note. Shun slowly opened the box. Inside, 5 identical black phones rested neatly on soft padding. Their design was elegant. No buttons, no charging port, no visible seams. The entire body looked as though it had been carved from a single piece of black crystal. Akira carefully picked one up. There are no sealing formulas. Kyan smiled. They're inside. The self-reorganizing seals are hidden beneath the outer layer. Shun touched the screen. The phone immediately activated. A blue light spread across the surface. The home screen appeared. Voice call, messages, maps, camera, gallery, calendar, clock, notes, browser, music, calculator, files, settings, app store. Everything looked exactly as Shun remembered from his previous life. Ren smiled. It doesn't even feel like something from the ninja world. Shun opened the settings. Another option appeared. Administrator mode access granted. He selected it. A completely different interface appeared. The entire communication network. Seal status. Energy consumption. System health. User permissions. Future expansion slots. Everything could be managed from here. Kyan immediately became interested. So, the entire network really can be controlled from one place. Akira was already examining the internal seal structure. Incredible. The seals really are reorganizing themselves. I've never seen sealing techniques this advanced. Meanwhile, Daichi had already begun testing durability. He dropped the phone. Nothing happened. He threw it against a wall. Not even a scratch. He hit it with a chakra-enhanced punch. The phone bounced off the wall and landed perfectly intact. Daichi looked disappointed. I can't even damage the prototype. Ren laughed. Congratulations. It passed your test. Shun smiled. Our first prototype is complete. Kyan looked at everyone around the table. This changes our schedule. The others looked toward him. No more designing. From today onward, we begin testing. For the next several months, we'll use these phones every day. We'll search for every flaw, every weakness, every bug. Only after we've perfected them will we think about introducing them to the outside world. The others nodded. Outside the hidden barrier, the ninja world remained trapped in an age of scrolls, messenger birds, and handwritten reports. Hidden within the mountains, 5 anonymous Uchihas had just activated the first smartphones the ninja world would ever see. A quiet technological revolution had officially begun. Chapter 48, Building the Economy. 1 month passed. The 5 Uchihas used the prototype phones every single day. Every bug they discovered was immediately fixed. Every inconvenience was carefully recorded. By the end of the month, the first prototype had become remarkably stable. That evening, the 5 gathered around the wooden table once again. Kyan looked at everyone. The phone itself is nearly complete. The next question is, how do we distribute it? Daichi answered first. We're not creating a company. The others looked toward him. Daichi continued. That would attract too much attention. We'll simply cooperate with an existing merchant association. They already have transportation. They already have stores. They already have customers. We'll remain in the background. Ren nodded. No one needs to know we're the creators. Shun smiled. Exactly. Background characters. As always. Everyone laughed. Then Kyan asked another question. What about operating costs? Silence filled the room. Finally, Shun spoke. We're not saints. The other 4 smiled. They knew exactly what he meant. We're giving people something that will completely change their lives. But we're not giving it away forever. He opened a new design document. Every new phone will include a subscription seal. Daichi blinked. A subscription. Shun nodded. The first 2 months after activation will be completely free. After that, the user must recharge the phone once every month. Ren frowned. Recharge the battery. Shun shook his head. No, the battery recharges itself. The subscription pays for the entire phone. The network, the updates, the applications, the maintenance, the entire service. Kyan nodded. That makes much more sense. Akira added. It also creates a stable income. Shun continued typing. The payment process should be as simple as possible. He opened another page. Virtual bank application. The user simply opens the app, puts physical money against the phone. A small teleportation seal verifies and transfers the money. The money disappears instantly. In return, the exact same value appears inside the account as virtual currency. Ren smiled. So, the phone becomes a wallet. Exactly. Shun nodded. The monthly subscription is then paid using virtual currency. No complicated procedures. No waiting. No paperwork. Daichi asked. What happens to the physical money? Shun smiled. It gets teleported directly into our hidden vault. Kyan nodded approvingly. Efficient. And withdrawing? Akira asked. The reverse. Shun answered. The user enters the amount. The virtual currency disappears. The equivalent amount of physical money is teleported to the user. Ren laughed. So our vault becomes a bank. In a way. Shun nodded. We'll always keep enough reserves. The room became quiet. The 5 understood what they had just designed. It wasn't simply a payment system. It was the beginning of an entirely new financial network. Shun opened the shop system once more. He selected custom order. Then typed. Request. Complete seal architecture and design diagrams for a secure virtual banking system with 2-way monetary teleportation, integrated account management, and scalable transaction processing. He pressed submit. The request disappeared. Akira smiled. The shop system is going to think we're trying to modernize an entire civilization. Shun closed the laptop. We are outside. The world still relied on coins, paper records, and merchants carrying heavy bags of money across dangerous roads. Hidden behind an invisible barrier, 5 anonymous Uchihas had just taken the first step toward creating the ninja world's first digital economy. Chapter 49, A Better Bank. 3 days later, a notification appeared on Shun's laptop. Custom order complete. Secure virtual banking system. Delivered successfully. Shun immediately downloaded the complete seal diagrams. Within seconds, thousands of pages of sealing formulas appeared on the screen. Akira and Kaien moved their chairs closer. For the next several hours, neither of them spoke. Every page they finished was immediately followed by another. Late that afternoon, Akira finally leaned back. This is incredible. Kaien nodded. The design is far beyond anything I could have created. Shun smiled. What did they change? Kaien pointed at one section of the diagram. Our original design teleported money directly from the customer to our hidden vault. The shop system completely removed that idea. Daichi looked confused. Why? Akira answered. Security. If someone ever discovered the teleportation coordinates, they could trace the destination. Kaien nodded. So the shop system created something much better. He opened another page. The money first enters a dimensional storage vault. A completely isolated space. No one can locate it. No one can track it. Not even through space-time techniques. Ren smiled. So our hidden vault never directly receives customer money. Exactly. Kaien nodded. When we need money, we simply withdraw it from the dimensional vault. Shun looked impressed. Much safer. Akira continued reading. It also added another function. Automatic fraud detection. The others looked interested. If counterfeit currency enters the system, it immediately rejects the transaction. If stolen money is marked, it records the history. If someone attempts to duplicate virtual currency, the account is automatically frozen. Daichi whistled. That's strict. Kaien smiled. A bank without security isn't a bank. Shun continued reading. Another section caught his attention. Interest system. Ren leaned over. What does it do? Shun read aloud. Users may safely store virtual currency. The bank may reward long-term deposits according to administrator settings. Daichi blinked. So, people will actually leave their money with us. Shun nodded. If we choose to enable it. Akira smiled. The shop system isn't building a payment app. It's building an actual financial system. Kaien closed the document. I've changed my mind. The others looked at him. We shouldn't call this a bank. Ren tilted his head. What should we call it? Kaien smiled. A financial foundation. The phone, the network, the communication, the currency, the banking, they're all becoming one system. Shun nodded. And once people depend on that system, they'll naturally accept everything else we introduce. Dungeons included. Silence settled over the room. The plan had grown much larger than they originally imagined. They had started by wanting a way to recruit users. Now, they were quietly designing an infrastructure that could support an entire civilization. Daichi suddenly laughed. You know, we've spent more time creating a financial system than learning new jutsu. Ren grinned. We're probably the strangest Uchihas in history. Akira smiled faintly. No, we're researchers. Kaien stood and looked out the window toward the distant mountains. And researchers change the world long before anyone notices. Outside the hidden barrier, the shinobi villages continued relying on coins, ledgers, and messenger birds. Hidden from history, 5 forgotten Uchihas were laying the foundations for a world that wouldn't just have stronger shinobi. It would have stronger institutions. Chapter 50, The First Recruit. Another month passed. The 5 Uchihas continued following the same routine. Every morning, a dungeon. Every afternoon, research. Every evening, tea. Their levels steadily climbed. By now, all 5 had reached level 24. Their Susanoo research had also progressed. The partial manifestations had become almost instinctive. Even Daichi could now maintain his skeletal arm and hammer for over an hour. That evening, Kaien suddenly closed his laptop. I think we're ready. The other 4 looked toward him. Ready for what? Ren asked. Kaien answered calmly. Our internship. Silence filled the room. The husky had entrusted them with the authority to recruit users. Until now, they had deliberately ignored it. They wanted to understand the system completely before involving anyone else. Shun nodded. I agree. If we keep waiting forever, we'll never gain management experience. Akira adjusted his glasses. Then the first question is obvious. Who do we recruit? The room fell silent once again. Daichi spoke first. Not a shinobi. The others looked at him. Daichi continued. A shinobi already belongs to a village. They have missions, politics, loyalty. They're complicated. Ren nodded. And if someone suddenly becomes much stronger, the village will investigate. Kayan added. The first users should attract as little attention as possible. Shun thought for a moment. Civilians. Everyone looked at him. Civilians have the greatest need for strength. They also have the least political influence. If they become stronger, most people will assume they simply trained. Akira smiled. And ordinary civilians are much easier to manage. Kayan nodded. Agreed. Shun opened the management system on his laptop. A new menu appeared. Subordinate recruitment. Available recruitment slots. 100. Daichi's eyes widened. 100. Ren laughed. I expected 5. Shun smiled. So did I. He selected the menu. A new warning immediately appeared. Managers are responsible for the actions of all recruited users. Choose carefully. Kayan read the message carefully. The system is reminding us again. This isn't a game. Shun nodded. We're responsible for whoever we recruit. He closed the recruitment menu. We won't rush. The others looked surprised. You've changed your mind? Daichi asked. Shun shook his head. No, we've decided to recruit. But, we haven't decided on the right person. Kayan smiled. Exactly. The first user represents our management style. If we choose poorly, our internship begins with failure. Akira stood up. Then let's establish selection criteria first. He walked to the blackboard. After several minutes, 5 rules appeared. First, no connection to major villages. Second, good moral character. Third, able to keep secrets. Fourth, strong desire to improve themselves. Fifth, ordinary enough to avoid attracting attention. Ren read the list. Finding someone like that won't be easy. Shun smiled. We're in no hurry. We've hidden ourselves for years. We can spend another few weeks choosing the right person. Kayan nodded in agreement. 1 excellent user is worth more than 100 reckless ones. The 5 quietly finished their tea. For the first time, they weren't discussing research, or dungeons, or technology. They were discussing people. Because beginning tomorrow, their greatest responsibility would no longer be improving themselves. It would be deciding who deserved the chance to walk the same path. Chapter 51, Returning to the Clan. The next morning, the 5 gathered around the dining table. For the first time in years, their discussion wasn't about dungeons. Nor was it about research. It was about returning. Kayan spread a map of the Land of Fire across the table. If we're recruiting Uchiha, we'll have to return to Konoha. Silence filled the room. They had spent over 2 years hiding inside the mountain. To the outside world, they were already dead. Ren broke the silence. So, how do 5 dead people enter Konoha? Kayan calmly answered. We don't. The others looked at him. We enter as 5 completely different people. Shun nodded. Disguises. New identities. No connection to our old lives. Akira added. We'll also suppress our chakra. Our eternal Mangekyo never leave the barrier. Daichi grinned. And we definitely don't use Susanoo. Everyone looked at him. He shrugged. I know. I'm not that stupid. Ren smiled. That's debatable. The room filled with light laughter. Kayan pointed at the map again. Our objective isn't recruitment. It's observation. The smiles disappeared. We haven't seen the current state of the Uchiha clan for over 2 years. We don't know who has awakened the 3 Tomo Sharingan. We don't know who attends clan meetings. We don't know who can keep secrets. Shun nodded. So first, we gather information. Only after that do we decide whether anyone is worth recruiting. Akira looked thoughtful. And if no one meets our standards? Kayan answered immediately. Then we recruit no one. There is no deadline. We'd rather have 0 users than 1 unreliable user. Everyone agreed. That had always been their philosophy. Quality before quantity. Shun looked toward the laptops. The phones aren't ready for public release. The banking system is still under development. The dungeon system is still hidden. We lose nothing by waiting. Ren stood up. I'll prepare disguises. Akira gathered several sealing scrolls. I'll create chakra concealment seals. Daichi stretched lazily. I'll practice acting like an ordinary traveler. Ren laughed. You act ordinary. Daichi pointed at himself proudly. I've been pretending to be average since I was a child. Kayan shook his head. Unfortunately, you're naturally loud. Everyone laughed again. By noon, the preparations had begun. New clothes, new weapons, new identities. Even their mannerisms would change. To the world, 5 dead Chunin would never return. Instead, 5 unknown travelers would quietly enter Konoha. Not as heroes, not as enemies, not even as missing nin. Simply as observers, watching, listening, waiting, and somewhere inside the Uchiha clan. If they found someone worthy, their first recruit would quietly take the first step onto a path that would change the future forever. Chapter 52, Entering Konoha. 3 days later, everything was ready. The 5 stood before the entrance of their hidden mountain. Each of them looked completely different. Their hair had been dyed. Their facial features were altered using transformation seals. Even their heights and body shapes appeared slightly different. Most importantly, their chakra signatures had completely changed. Akira looked at the sealing formula attached beneath his sleeve. It should suppress our chakra to ordinary Chunin level. Kaien nodded. Good. We're not here to impress anyone. We're here to observe. Shun took one last look at the hidden mountain. The massive sealing barrier slowly closed behind them. Once they stepped outside, 5 dead Uchihas disappeared. 5 ordinary travelers took their place. 3 days later, the gates of Konoha appeared in the distance. The Third Shinobi World War had almost ended. The village was busier than usual. Merchant caravans entered and left continuously. Returning shinobi could be seen everywhere. The 5 quietly joined one of the merchant groups entering the village. The gate guards performed a routine inspection. Travel permits, identity papers, basic questioning, nothing unusual. Within minutes, they entered Konoha without attracting any attention. Ren looked around. Nothing has changed. Shun smiled faintly. That's because we've only been gone for 2 years. Daichi stretched his shoulders. I almost forgot how noisy this place is. Kaien interrupted him. No sightseeing. We split into pairs. The meeting point is the inn. Sunset. No unnecessary contact. Everyone nodded. They separated naturally. Shun and Kaien headed toward the market district. Not to shop, but to gather information. The fastest way to understand a village was to listen. Merchants always talked. Civilians always gossiped. Within an hour, they had already learned several things. The war was nearing its conclusion. Minato Namikaze's reputation continued to grow. The Uchiha clan remained responsible for village security. Nothing unusual had happened inside the clan. Shun quietly listened without interrupting. Meanwhile, Ren and Daichi wandered through the commercial district. The two purposely acted like ordinary travelers. Stopping at food stalls, browsing weapon shops, listening to conversations. Eventually, Daichi casually asked a shopkeeper. I heard the Uchiha clan is quite active lately. The shopkeeper nodded. They're always busy. I heard they'll have another internal meeting soon. Daichi remained expressionless. Oh, when? The shopkeeper shrugged. I don't know, but one of my regular customers mentioned the Naka Shrine. Daichi thanked him and walked away. At the same time, Akira quietly visited the village library. Instead of searching for books, he observed clan notices, mission schedules, public announcements. Nothing directly mentioned the Uchiha. But several administrative records suggested that security around the Uchiha district increased at regular intervals. Akira memorized the dates. As the sun began setting, the 5 reunited at a small inn. Kaien looked around the table. Report. One by one, everyone shared what they had learned. After nearly half an hour, Kaien reached a conclusion. The information matches. He drew several dates on a piece of paper. The next Naka Shrine meeting should take place within the next week. Shun nodded. So now, we wait. Ren smiled. Still no recruitment. Kaien shook his head. Observation first, decisions later. Daichi laughed. We're probably the only people who spend more time planning than acting. Akira calmly replied. And that's why we're still alive. No one argued. Outside the inn, Konoha continued its peaceful evening. No one noticed that 5 anonymous travelers quietly drinking tea in a small room were actually 5 Uchihas whom the world already believed to be dead. Chapter 53, The Naka Shrine Meeting. 5 days passed. The 5 continued living as ordinary travelers. During the day, they wandered around Konoha. At night, they gathered in the inn to exchange information. On the morning of the 6th day, Akira quietly entered the room. I've confirmed it. Everyone looked toward him. The Uchiha clan meeting is tonight. The Naka Shrine. Kaien nodded. As expected, he spread a simple map of the Uchiha district across the table. We're not entering the shrine. The others nodded. That had already been decided. The purpose of today's mission is observation. We identify every 3 Tomo Sharingan user attending the meeting. We observe their behavior. We leave. No contact. No recruitment. No unnecessary risks. Everyone agreed. That evening, darkness gradually covered Konoha. The 5 quietly moved toward the Uchiha district from different directions. Each wore ordinary traveler's clothing. Their chakra remained perfectly concealed. No one paid them any attention. Far from the shrine, on the roof of an abandoned warehouse, the 5 reunited. From there, the entrance to the Naka Shrine could be seen clearly. One by one, Uchiha clan members began arriving. Some were elders, some were experienced Jonin, others were respected members of the clan. Shun quietly activated his Sharingan. Only 2 Tomo appeared, just enough to enhance his vision. Nothing more. Ren did the same. Akira silently recorded every arrival. Kaien observed their movements. Daichi simply counted. 1, 2, 3. Time slowly passed. After nearly an hour, the meeting began. The shrine doors closed. Silence returned to the district. Ren looked toward Kaien. Now what? Kaien calmly answered. We wait. The meeting itself isn't important. The people are. An hour later, the doors opened again. Clan members slowly walked out. Some looked relaxed. Others appeared dissatisfied. A few argued quietly among themselves before leaving. Akira observed everything. Grouping. He quietly pointed. Those 4 left together. They trust each other. Ren nodded. And those 3 deliberately left separately. Probably hiding something. Kaien simply memorized everything. Shun quietly watched the faces. Most were unfamiliar. But a few, he recognized from his previous life. Nothing had changed. History was still following its original course. Finally, the last person left the shrine. The district became quiet once more. Kaien looked around. Report. Akira opened his notebook. I counted 23 attendees. 12 possessed confirmed 3 Tomo Sharingan. 5 appear especially cautious. 3 naturally command respect. 2 avoided every conversation. Ren smiled. Interesting. Daichi stretched. So, did we find our recruits? Kaien shook his head. No. The others looked surprised. We found candidates. Candidates aren't recruits. Shun smiled. Observation continues. No decisions tonight. Kaien nodded. One meeting isn't enough to judge someone. We'll continue watching. We verify everything. Only then, do we decide. The 5 quietly disappeared into the darkness. Behind them, the Naka shrine stood silently beneath the moonlight. Inside it, the Uchiha elders believed their discussions remained completely secret. None of them realized that 5 forgotten Uchihas had spent the entire evening not listening to a single word they said, but carefully judging every person who walked through the shrine's doors. For researchers, people's actions always revealed far more than their conversations. Chapter 54, Breaking Their Pride. 1 month passed. The 5 never approached the Uchiha clan. They simply observed. Every clan meeting, every training session, every patrol, every conversation they could witness without exposing themselves. By the end of the month, their conclusion was unanimous. Kaien closed his notebook. They're all qualified. The others looked at him. They're disciplined. They're experienced. They can keep secrets. But, he paused. They all have one flaw. Their pride. Ren leaned back in his chair. The arrogance of being Uchiha. Akira nodded. They believe they stand above everyone else. They don't look down on civilians. They look down on everyone. Shun remained silent. He had expected this. The Uchiha clan's greatest strength was also its greatest weakness. Daichi suddenly laughed. You know, we 5 are probably the biggest joke to their pride. The others looked at him. Daichi grinned. They're proud of being elite Uchihas. They've spent years showing off. And here we are, 5 dead Chunin, hiding in the mountains, already possessing the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Stronger than every one of them. Ren couldn't help laughing. When you put it that way, it really is ironic. Daichi stood up dramatically. So let's just mock them to their faces. Then, he clenched his fist. We suppress those foreigners with the eternal Mangekyo. Silence. Ren blinked. Foreigners. Daichi scratched his head. I meant, our dear clansmen. The room erupted in laughter. Even Akira smiled. After the laughter faded, everyone looked toward Kaien. Normally, he would reject such a reckless suggestion immediately. Instead, he slowly nodded. I approve. The room became silent. Daichi blinked. Really? Kaien folded his arms. Not because I want to humiliate them, but because Shun was right. Their arrogance is the final obstacle. If they continue believing they stand at the top, they'll never listen, they'll never learn, they'll never accept guidance. Shun nodded. They need to understand one fact. There is always someone stronger. And strength isn't measured by reputation. Akira added. They've lived inside Konoha their entire lives. They've never had their worldview challenged. Ren smiled faintly. So, we'll challenge it. Kaien looked at everyone. At the next Naka Shrine meeting, we reveal ourselves. No disguises. No lies. We tell them exactly who we are. The others listened quietly. We won't attack first. We won't kill anyone. We'll simply demonstrate the gap. A gap so large, that every illusion of superiority disappears. Daichi cracked his knuckles. Finally, a simple plan. Kaien looked directly at him. And remember, we're not doing this to satisfy our pride. We're doing it to destroy theirs. Daichi's smile faded. He nodded seriously. I understand. Shun stood and looked out the window. The lights of Konoha shimmered in the distance. The next meeting will become a lesson they will never forget. The five silently picked up their teacups. 1 month of observation had ended. The next phase would begin with a single meeting. And by the time that meeting was over, every elite Uchiha present would understand one undeniable truth. The 5 ordinary Chunin, who had supposedly died in the war, had long ago surpassed everything the clan believed to be possible. Chapter 55, 5 Ghosts Return. 1 week later, the next Naka Shrine meeting arrived. Unlike the previous month, the 5 weren't here merely to observe. Tonight, they would introduce themselves, not as travelers, not as merchants, but as the 5 Uchihas whom everyone believed had died during the Third Shinobi World War. Inside the Naka Shrine, more than 20 elite Uchiha had already gathered. As usual, the meeting was discussing the clan's future after the war. Outside, 5 figures silently walked toward the shrine. None of them concealed their chakra anymore. The chakra concealment seals had been removed. Their appearances had also returned to normal. For the first time in over 2 years, Shun, Kaien, Ren, Akira, Daichi, walked as themselves. When they reached the shrine entrance, the 2 guards immediately frowned. "You 5, aren't you supposed to be?" Before either guard could finish, Kaien calmly spoke. "We're here for the meeting." His calm voice carried an unquestionable confidence. The 2 guards instinctively stepped aside. Not because they recognized strength, but because they recognized the faces. Faces that should have belonged to dead men. The heavy doors slowly opened. Creak. Every conversation inside the shrine stopped. More than 20 pairs of eyes turned toward the entrance. Silence. Complete silence. One elder slowly stood. His face was filled with disbelief. Impossible. Another elder whispered. "They died. In the war." Uchiha Fugaku narrowed his eyes. He carefully observed the 5 newcomers. Then he spoke. "So, you survived." Shun smiled faintly. Clearly. Whispers immediately spread throughout the shrine. "How? Where have they been? Why didn't they return?" Daichi glanced around the room. So many familiar faces. Ren quietly smiled. "Looks like nobody expected ghosts." Kaien stepped forward. "We didn't come here to explain our disappearance. We came for something else." An elder frowned. "And what exactly do 5 former Chunin have to say in a meeting of the clan's elite?" The atmosphere immediately became tense. Daichi looked at the elder. Then grinned. "Former Chunin." He laughed. "I haven't heard anyone call us that in years." Several Uchihas frowned. One younger Jonin stepped forward. "This meeting isn't a place for jokes. If you've returned, show proper respect." Before anyone else could speak, Shun calmly took 1 step forward. His eyes slowly changed. 3 Tomo merged into a single pattern. The eternal Mangekyo Sharingan silently bloomed. At exactly the same moment, Ren, Akira, Daichi, Kaien opened theirs as well. 5 pairs of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan illuminated the shrine. The entire hall froze. Every Uchiha present instinctively held their breath. Even Fugaku's calm expression disappeared for the first time. His own Mangekyo remained hidden. But he understood exactly what he was seeing. Impossible. 5 eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, existing at the same time. Without blindness. Without eye transplantation. Without any record in the clan's history. Daichi smiled at the stunned faces around him. "So, you were saying something about respect." Silence answered him. The pride that had filled the shrine only moments before had completely disappeared. Chapter 56, Beyond the Mangekyo. Silence engulfed the Naka Shrine. No one dared to speak. Every pair of eyes remained fixed on the 5 eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Even the elders who had experienced countless battles found it difficult to breathe. Finally, Uchiha Fugaku spoke. How? Shun looked at him calmly. "That's the first sensible question asked tonight." Fugaku's Mangekyo remained active. He carefully observed Shun's eyes. Then Ren's, Akira's, Daichi's, Kaien's. The more he looked, the more certain he became. He slowly shook his head. "No, these aren't ordinary Mangekyo. They've evolved." Shun smiled faintly. "They have." The room fell silent once again. One elder finally found his voice. "Impossible. The Mangekyo always leads to blindness. That is the clan's history." Akira calmly replied. "Then your history is incomplete." The elder stiffened. Another Uchiha stepped forward. "If such eyes exist, why hide them?" Ren answered before anyone else. "Because none of you were ready." The words struck harder than any jutsu. One of the younger Jonin frowned. "We're the elite of the Uchiha clan." Daichi laughed. "Elite?" He looked around the room. "You call yourselves elite, yet you've accepted blindness as your fate." The room became quiet again. No one could refute him. Kaien finally stepped forward. His voice remained calm. "You misunderstand why we came. We didn't return to boast. We didn't return to become clan leaders. We didn't return to seize authority. He looked at every person in the shrine. We came because every one of you has reached a dead end. You've accepted that dead end. We refused to. Shun continued. Every one of you believes the Mangekyo Sharingan is the end of the road. It isn't. It's only another bottleneck. Fugaku's expression became serious. You found a way beyond it. Shun nodded. We did. An elder's breathing became heavy. Then teach us. Several others immediately nodded. For the first time that night, the arrogance that had filled the shrine had vanished. Only desire remained. The desire to move forward. Kyan quietly observed everyone's expressions. Then he looked toward Shun. The two exchanged a glance. It was enough. The first objective had been accomplished. Their pride had been broken. Not through violence. Not through humiliation. But through undeniable proof. Daichi folded his arms. So, does anyone still think we're just 5 former Chunin? No one answered. Not a single person. Because everyone present already understood. The gap between them was no longer something that rank could measure. Fugaku slowly deactivated his Mangekyo Sharingan. Then, to everyone's surprise, he bowed his head slightly. Please, teach us. The entire shrine froze. The clan head of the Uchiha had lowered his pride first. Kyan finally spoke. Good. Now, we can begin talking. The 5 looked at the gathered Uchihas. 1 month of observation, 1 evening of confrontation, had achieved exactly what they wanted. The arrogant elite of the Uchiha clan had stopped looking upward with pride. And started looking upward with curiosity. For researchers, that single change was worth more than any victory in battle. Chapter 57, The Price of Knowledge. The Naka Shrine remained silent. No one dared to break the atmosphere. Every gaze was fixed on the 5 eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. After several long moments, Shun slowly deactivated his eyes. Ren, Akira, Daichi, Kyan, did the same. The overwhelming pressure disappeared. Everyone in the shrine unconsciously let out a sigh of relief. Kyan calmly looked around the room. Now that everyone has calmed down, we can talk. An elder immediately stepped forward. How did you obtain those eyes? Shun answered without hesitation. We created our own method. The answer stunned everyone. Created? You mean, you didn't inherit it? Akira nodded. No, we researched. We experimented. We failed. We improved. We repeated the process. For years, the shrine fell silent again. Research. Creating a path beyond the Mangekyo through research. It sounded unbelievable. Fugaku narrowed his eyes. So, the clan records are incomplete. Shun shook his head. No, they simply stopped searching. The words struck every Uchiha present. Kyan continued calmly. The greatest weakness of the Uchiha clan isn't hatred, isn't blindness, and it isn't the Sharingan. He paused. It's complacency. The elders frowned. Kyan continued. When previous generations failed, you accepted their limits. You never questioned whether another path existed. You inherited conclusions, instead of continuing the research. No one could refute him. Because it was true. Shun stepped forward. Tell me, when was the last time anyone in this room attempted to create a new Uchiha technique? Silence. When was the last time anyone questioned the clan records? Silence. When was the last time anyone challenged the belief that blindness was inevitable? Still, silence. Ren smiled faintly. You accepted those answers before you were even born. Daichi folded his arms. And then you called yourselves elite. No one became angry. Not anymore. Because they knew. The 5 were right. Fugaku looked at the 5 calmly. What do you want? The room became quiet. Everyone realized. That was the real question. Shun answered simply. We're not interested in becoming clan leaders. We're not interested in political power. We're not interested in controlling the Uchiha. Kyan continued. We only want researchers. People looked at each other in confusion. Researchers. Akira nodded. People willing to question. People willing to experiment. People willing to fail. People willing to continue searching for answers. Ren smiled. We don't need followers. We need colleagues. The atmosphere inside the shrine changed once again. This wasn't a struggle for leadership. Nor was it a coup. The 5 weren't trying to rule the clan. They were searching for people who shared the same mindset. Kyan looked around the room one final time. We'll give everyone here 1 month. Think carefully. If all you seek is power, don't come. If you're only interested in the eternal Mangekyo, don't come. But, he paused. If what you truly seek is knowledge, then come find us. An elder frowned. Where? Shun smiled faintly. We'll find you. The 5 turned toward the shrine's entrance. Without another word, they walked away. No one tried to stop them. No one spoke. The 23 elite Uchihas simply watched the 5 disappear into the darkness. For the first time in the clan's history, Their greatest desire was no longer to awaken a stronger Sharingan. It was to understand how 5 forgotten Uchihas had surpassed centuries of accepted limits through nothing but relentless research. Chapter 58, the first month. The 5 quietly left the Naka shrine. No one followed them. No one dared to. Inside the shrine, the 23 Uchihas remained frozen in place. Each of them stared at the strange device in their hands. Silence lingered for several minutes. Finally, one elder broke it. What exactly is this thing? No one answered. Because no one knew. Fugaku slowly examined the smooth black device. There were no seals carved on its surface. No chakra circuits. No buttons. Nothing that resembled a ninja tool. It looked completely foreign. One younger Jonin hesitated before touching the screen. The moment his finger made contact, the device lit up. A soft blue glow illuminated the shrine. Everyone instinctively took a step back. Words appeared across the screen. Welcome. Please register your identity. It activated. Another Uchiha carefully picked up his own phone. Soon, one after another, every device awakened. The quiet shrine was filled with soft blue lights. Curiosity slowly replaced caution. Outside the shrine, the 5 walked through the silent streets of Konoha. Daichi laughed. I wish I could see their faces right now. Ren smiled. They probably think it's some kind of forbidden ninja tool. Akira shook his head. They'll spend the entire night trying to figure out how it works. Kaien looked toward Shun. You didn't tell them about the updates. Shun smiled faintly. There was no need. The phones are already connected. Akira nodded. Every bug report, every malfunction, every crash, we'll receive all of it automatically. Daichi laughed. So, they're unknowingly helping us improve the system. Exactly. Shun nodded. They think they're testing the phones. In reality, the phones are studying them. Ren looked down at his own device. The analytics function is impressive. It records every interaction, every commonly used feature, every confusing interface. Akira added. We'll know which functions need improvement without asking a single question. Kaien smiled. That's much more reliable than questionnaires. They quietly returned to their inn. Tomorrow, they would leave Konoha and return to their hidden mountain. The experiment had officially begun. Inside the Naka shrine, Fugaku finally finished registering his device. The home screen appeared before him. Voice call, messages, maps, notes, calendar, browser, settings, dozens of unfamiliar applications. One elder looked up. Did any of you understand even half of this? Everyone silently shook their heads. Fugaku smiled faintly. They weren't lying. This really is something completely outside the ninja world's knowledge. He looked at the phone resting in his palm. For the first time in many years, he felt the excitement of exploring something entirely unknown. Not a forbidden jutsu, not a bloodline secret, but a technology that seemed decades ahead of its time. Far away, hidden behind an invisible barrier, 5 anonymous Uchihas quietly watched the first usage reports appear on their laptops. The experiment had begun exactly as planned. Chapter 59, the first users 1 month later. The 5 Uchihas returned to Konoha. Not to observe, not to test the phones, but to conclude the first phase. That night, the 23 Uchiha gathered once again inside the Naka shrine. Every one of them carried the phone. Every one of them had spent the past month using it. Kaien looked around the room. You've all done well. The feedback was useful. We've fixed the problems you found. Several people nodded. They had already noticed the updates. The phones had improved almost overnight. Shun stepped forward. As promised, we're giving you the path. He raised his hand. 23 blue screens suddenly appeared before the gathered Uchihas. Congratulations. Dungeon system. Early access granted. The shrine immediately became silent. Akira calmly explained, you will now gain access to dungeons. Inside them, you will fight monsters. When you kill monsters, you gain experience. You level up. Ren continued, after clearing a dungeon, you'll receive gold coins. Those gold coins can be spent in the shop. He pointed toward the phone. Everything you've seen in the shop, you can buy, if you earn enough. Daichi grinned. No exceptions. No special treatment. If you want something, earn it. The gathered Uchihas looked at one another. Their breathing became heavier. A real path. A real opportunity. Not a promise. Not a legend. Kaien's expression suddenly became serious. But, the atmosphere instantly turned heavy. There is one rule. His voice became cold. You will tell no one. No family. No friends. No elders. No village. Absolutely no one. Shun continued, we have already given you the path. What you do with it is your choice. But if any one of you speaks about this system, or interferes with our plans, he looked directly into everyone's eyes. Believe us, death would be mercy. The words were calm, without anger, without killing intent, yet everyone present felt a chill run down their spine. Ren spoke quietly, "This isn't a threat born from pride. It's a warning." Akira nodded. "Our plans are far larger than the Uchiha clan. They cannot be exposed." Daichi folded his arms. "If one person destroys years of research, we won't forgive them." Silence filled the shrine. Not one person doubted them. After witnessing 5 eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, after seeing technology beyond imagination, after watching impossible things become reality, no one questioned whether the 5 had the ability to carry out their warning. Finally, Uchiha Fugaku stepped forward. "I understand. The secret will remain within this room." One by one, the remaining 22 Uchihas nodded. No one objected. Kaien looked around the room one final time. "Good. Then your journey begins today." Without another word, the 5 turned around. As they reached the shrine's entrance, their bodies suddenly blurred. In the blink of an eye, they vanished. But just before disappearing completely, Ren paused. He turned his head slightly toward Fugaku. "Fugaku, you may not remember, but when I was a child, you once helped me while I was practicing my sword." Fugaku's eyes widened slightly. Ren continued calmly, "So let me give you a piece of advice. A 4-year-old should not witness killing. Even if Itachi is the young clan leader, it will only cause him psychological harm." For a brief moment, silence deepened. Then, Ren vanished. The shrine remained still. Fugaku stood frozen, his expression unreadable. Around him, 22 Uchihas remained silent. Each one stared at the glowing dungeon icon on their phone. A new era had quietly begun. Not for the ninja world. Only for the 23 people inside the Naka shrine. And whether they would rise or fall would depend entirely on themselves. Chapter 60, The Clan's First Dungeon. The morning after the meeting, not a single one of the 23 Uchihas could concentrate on their usual routine. Their minds kept returning to one thing: the glowing dungeon icon. Inside the Uchiha district, Fugaku sat alone in his study. The phone rested quietly on the table. He looked at it for several moments. But instead of immediately tapping it, his thoughts drifted. A faint voice echoed in his mind. Ren's voice. "Fugaku, you may not remember, but when I was a child, you once helped me while I was practicing my sword." Fugaku frowned slightly. Helped him. For a moment, nothing came to mind. Then, a long-forgotten memory surfaced. Years ago, a quiet training ground at the edge of the village. A young boy stood there, gripping a wooden sword. His stance was unstable. His swings were clumsy. Again and again, he struck the air. Again and again, he failed. Fugaku, passing by at the time, had stopped. He watched silently for a while. Then he spoke. "Your footing is wrong." The boy froze. Slowly, he turned. His eyes were filled with determination and frustration. Fugaku walked over. Without another word, he adjusted the boy's stance. "Hold the sword like this. Don't rely on strength alone. Focus." The boy nodded seriously. He tried again. This time, his swing was steadier. Fugaku watched for a moment longer. Then he left. To him, it had been nothing. Just a passing moment. Back in the present, Fugaku's eyes narrowed slightly. So that was him. He hadn't even remembered the boy's face. Yet Ren had remembered him all this time. Fugaku exhaled softly. Then, he tapped the icon. A blue window appeared. "Welcome, user. Recommended dungeon. Level 1. Difficulty, easy. Would you like to enter?" Without hesitation, he selected yes. A pillar of blue light enveloped him. The next instant, he vanished from his room. A vast grassland stretched before him. Several wolf-like monsters slowly turned toward him. Fugaku calmly observed them. "So, this is a dungeon." The monsters charged. Fugaku drew his sword. Within moments, the battle ended. Monster defeated. Experience 10. Blue notifications appeared one after another. As he continued deeper into the dungeon, the monsters gradually became stronger. But they were still far too weak for someone of Fugaku's level. 10 minutes later, he reached the boss, a giant wolf nearly 3 meters tall. It roared. Fugaku's Sharingan spun. One precise slash. The monster collapsed. Dungeon cleared. Reward: 20 gold coins. Level up. A beam of light surrounded him. The next moment, he was back inside his study. His phone vibrated. Level 2. Gold coins, 20. Fugaku stared at the screen. It was real. But this time, there was a faint, thoughtful look in his eyes. The same scene unfolded throughout the Uchiha district. One after another, the remaining 22 Uchihas entered their first dungeon. Some finished quickly. Some took longer. Some returned covered in sweat. Others returned with excitement written across their faces. But everyone reached the same conclusion. The dungeon was real. The monsters were real. The rewards were real. Deep within the hidden mountain, 5 laptops displayed 23 green lights. Each represented an active user. Akira watched the data stream across his screen. 23 users entered. No system errors. No synchronization problems. Kaien nodded. Good. Ren smiled quietly. They've officially become real users. For a brief moment, his gaze drifted, as if recalling something distant. Daichi laughed. They're probably discussing monsters instead of clan politics. Shun quietly looked at another window. The management panel displayed the experience gained by every subordinate. Small streams of experience flowed into the 5 managers. Their own experience bars moved forward ever so slightly. Shun smiled. So the management function works exactly as expected. Kaien looked at the report. From now on, they'll grow stronger by clearing dungeons. And we'll grow stronger by managing them. Akira closed his laptop. A mutually beneficial system. Ren chuckled softly. The husky would probably call this a successful business model. The 5 quietly raised their teacups. Outside, the ninja world remained completely unaware. No village, no cage, no organization, knew that 23 elite Uchihas had quietly begun walking a completely different path. A path that no longer depended solely on talent, but on effort, memory, and endless growth. Chapter 61, The Distributor. The next morning, the 5 left their hidden mountain once again. This time, they had no intention of visiting Konoha. Nor were they looking for recruits. Their destination was the nearest major trading city. Inside a quiet tea house, the 5 sat around a table overlooking the busy streets. Merchants came and went. Caravans arrived from every direction. Daichi looked outside. So, who are we looking for? Kaien answered calmly. A distributor. Ren raised an eyebrow. Not a company. Kaien shook his head. No, we already decided that. We're researchers, not businessmen. Our time is too valuable to waste managing stores. Akira nodded. Research remains our priority. The Merchant Association will handle sales. We'll remain in the background. Shun took a sip of tea. And if one distributor fails, we simply replace them. We never expose ourselves. Everyone agreed. That had always been their philosophy. Hide behind capable people. Never stand in the spotlight. For the next 3 days, they quietly investigated every major merchant association in the region. They ignored the wealthiest. They ignored the most powerful. Instead, they searched for one thing: reputation. On the evening of the 3rd day, Kaien closed his notebook. I've found one. The others looked toward him. A merchant association that's been operating for over 40 years. No major scandals. No involvement with hidden villages. Known for keeping contracts. More importantly, they value their reputation above profit. Ren smiled. Perfect. Daichi nodded. If they betray us, they lose everything. Kaien folded the notebook. Exactly. Shun looked toward the bustling marketplace. We'll approach them as inventors. Nothing more. No real names. No connection to the Uchiha. No connection to Konoha. Akira added. And no one meets us twice. We'll use transformed appearances every time. The others nodded. The next afternoon, the 5 entered the headquarters of the Merchant Association. They wore plain traveler clothing. Their chakra signatures were completely concealed. A middle-aged manager greeted them politely. Welcome. How may our association assist you? Kaien calmly placed a black phone on the table. We're looking for a long-term distribution partner. The manager looked curiously at the unfamiliar object. What exactly is it? Shun smiled faintly. A product that will eventually change how the entire world communicates. The manager laughed politely. Then, he picked up the phone. Within minutes, his expression slowly changed. The smile disappeared. Curiosity became disbelief. Then disbelief became shock. By the time he finished testing the basic functions, his hands were trembling slightly. He carefully placed the phone back on the table. Gentlemen, I believe this discussion should continue in a private room. Kaien looked at the other 4. The first step toward bringing their invention into the world had finally begun. Chapter 62, The Partnership. The manager personally led the 5 into the Merchant Association's private meeting room. Once the doors were closed, he respectfully bowed. My name is Hiroshi. I am one of the senior managers of this association. He looked toward the black phone resting on the table. Before we continue, I would like to ask one question. Shun nodded. Go ahead. Hiroshi took a deep breath. Who are you? Silence filled the room. Kaien calmly answered. We're researchers. Nothing more. Hiroshi immediately understood. The other party had no intention of revealing their identities. He didn't press the matter. Instead, he changed the question. What exactly do you want from us? Kaien replied. A distribution partnership. You manufacture nothing. You invent nothing. You simply sell our products. And in return, you receive a percentage of every sale. Hiroshi nodded thoughtfully. A commission. Reasonable. Ren placed another document on the table. This phone will never be sold through ordinary shops. It will only be sold through your association. Hiroshi's breathing became slightly heavier. Exclusive distribution rights. Kaien nodded. As long as you honor the agreement. If your association betrays us, the contract ends immediately. No negotiations. No second chances. Hiroshi understood. Trust had to be earned. Akira then spoke for the first time. There are additional conditions. The internal technology of the phone must never be dismantled or researched. The product itself belongs to us. You only sell it. Hiroshi nodded immediately. We have no intention of stealing another inventor's work. Shun smiled faintly. We're glad to hear that. Daichi leaned back in his chair. Now comes the important part. The price. Hiroshi straightened his posture. We're listening. Kaien slid another document across the table. The phone itself will be sold almost at cost. Hiroshi looked surprised. So cheap. Kaien nodded. Our profit doesn't come from selling the device. It comes afterward. Shun continued. Every phone includes a free 2-month trial. After that, the user pays a small monthly service fee. Ren added. The payment is made directly through the phone. Your association doesn't need to collect anything. Hiroshi frowned slightly. Then, how do we earn from future payments? Akira smiled. You receive a fixed percentage of every monthly recharge made by customers you originally sold the phone to. The manager's eyes widened. So, the longer customers continue using the phone, the more both sides earn. Kaien nodded. A long-term partnership, not a one-time sale. Hiroshi slowly leaned back. He had been a merchant for over 20 years. He immediately recognized the brilliance of the model. A stable income, growing every month, without maintaining warehouses full of replacement parts. He looked back at the 5. I accept. Shun smiled. Not yet. Hiroshi blinked. What? Kaien calmly replied. You've accepted, but we haven't. Silence filled the room. Kaien continued. For the next 6 months, we'll observe your association. If we're satisfied, you become our official distributor. If not, we walk away. Hiroshi smiled bitterly. So this meeting was also a test. Ren chuckled. Everything is a test. The manager slowly stood, then bowed respectfully. In that case, we'll do everything we can to earn your trust. Kaien also stood. We look forward to seeing it. The 5 quietly left the room. As they disappeared into the busy streets, Hiroshi remained standing silently. He looked once more at the strange black phone resting on the table. His merchant's instincts told him, if this partnership succeeded, the world of commerce itself was about to change. And somewhere beyond the sight of every village, 5 anonymous researchers were quietly becoming the invisible architects of that new world. Chapter 63, The First Contract. 1 week later, the 5 returned to the Merchant Association. Just as before, they wore different faces, different clothes, different chakra signatures. Only the 5 of them knew each other's true identities. Hiroshi was already waiting in the private meeting room. The moment they entered, he stood and bowed respectfully. You've returned. Kaien nodded. We're here to finalize the contract. Hiroshi immediately placed several prepared documents on the table. We've drafted an agreement based on our previous discussion. Akira carefully read every page, every clause, every condition. Nearly half an hour passed. Finally, he closed the document. The contract is fair, but several conditions need to be added. Hiroshi immediately picked up his brush. Please. Kaien spoke calmly. First, our identities remain completely confidential. You will never investigate us. You will never attempt to follow us. You will never ask where we live. Hiroshi nodded. Agreed. Akira continued. Second, you may only sell the phones. You may not dismantle them. You may not copy them. You may not modify them. If one breaks, you return it to us. Hiroshi nodded again. Understood. Shun added the third condition. Every customer must register under their real name. They must agree to the terms of service before activating the phone. Ren smiled. If they don't agree, the phone simply won't activate. Hiroshi looked impressed. So the phone itself enforces the contract. Exactly. Daichi leaned forward. The fourth condition, if someone tries to steal the technology, they lose all distribution rights immediately. No warnings, no second chances. Hiroshi didn't hesitate. Accepted. Finally, Kaien spoke the last condition. For the first shipment, there will be 100,000 phones. Hiroshi's eyes widened. 100,000. Shun nodded calmly. If you can sell them, contact us through the phone. Ren added with a faint smile. The next shipments will arrive through a teleportation array. No delays, no transportation risks. As long as you can sell them, we will continue supplying you. Silence filled the room. Hiroshi slowly exhaled. Understood. This is far beyond ordinary trade. Akira smiled slightly. We told you, we're not interested in small business. Kaien finally picked up the brush. One by one, the 5 signed using temporary identities. Hiroshi signed on behalf of the Merchant Association. The contract was complete. Kaien rolled up the scroll and placed it inside a storage seal. Good. The partnership officially begins today. Hiroshi smiled. When will the first shipment arrive? Shun answered calmly. 1 month. We're making several final improvements. The first public version must be flawless. Hiroshi bowed once more. We'll prepare everything on our side. We'll train trusted employees. We'll establish secure sales rooms. We'll ensure no information leaks. Kaien nodded with satisfaction. Good. The fewer people who know, the better. The 5 stood and walked toward the door. Just before leaving, Shun paused. He looked back at Hiroshi. Remember, we're not selling a phone. We're introducing a new way for people to live. Hiroshi remained silent. Only after the 5 had disappeared did he whisper to himself. No, you're introducing a new era. Outside, the streets remained as lively as ever. Merchants shouted. Customers bargained. Children played. No one realized that inside one quiet meeting room, a single contract had been signed. A contract that would one day change communication, commerce, and eventually the entire ninja world. Chapter 64, The World's First Smartphone. 1 month later, inside the hidden mountain, a massive teleportation array slowly lit up. Thousands of black boxes appeared one after another. The array continued operating for nearly 10 minutes. When the light finally disappeared, exactly 100,000 phones were neatly stacked inside the warehouse. Daichi let out a whistle. 100,000. The shop system really doesn't waste time. Akira nodded. The quality is identical. Every seal, every function, perfect. Kaien opened his laptop. He selected the Merchant Association's account. Then pressed one button. Deliver shipment. Far away, inside the Merchant Association's central warehouse, an enormous teleportation array activated. Workers instinctively stepped back. Flash, flash, flash. One black box after another appeared inside the warehouse. Within minutes, the warehouse contained 100,000 phones. Hiroshi stood frozen, even though he had been warned. Witnessing it personally still left him speechless. No caravans, no escorts, no transportation costs. He looked at the endless rows of boxes. They really teleported everything. He immediately turned toward his staff. Begin preparations. Every branch follows the launch plan. Today, we introduce the product. By noon, every major city served by the Merchant Association displayed the same announcement. A new communication device has arrived. The phone. Grand opening today. Free service for the first 2 months. Curious crowds quickly gathered. Most people had never even heard the word phone. Inside the stores, employees patiently demonstrated the device. Touch the screen. It responds automatically. You can communicate with people far away. You can write messages. You can keep notes. You can use maps. You can store information. At first, people thought it was a strange ninja tool. But after seeing ordinary civilians use it, their curiosity rapidly turned into excitement. Within hours, the first stores sold out. Hiroshi looked at the sales reports arriving from every branch. His hands trembled. They're buying everything. One manager ran into the room. Sir, we've already sold over 12,000 units. Another followed. The northern branch is requesting more inventory. A third arrived moments later. The western cities have completely sold out. Hiroshi smiled. No, they're not buying a product. They're buying convenience. Deep within the hidden mountain, the 5 watched the live sales report. The numbers climbed almost every minute. 10,000, 18,000, 31,000, 52,000. Daichi laughed loudly. I knew people would like them. Ren smiled. Everyone wants an easier life. Akira looked at another screen. No system failures. No activation problems. The network remains stable. Kaien calmly nodded. The foundation is complete. Shun quietly looked at the map displayed on his laptop. One blue light appeared after another. Every light represented a newly activated phone. Every minute, the lights spread farther across the continent. For the first time in history, the ninja world was becoming connected. Not through messenger birds, not through shinobi, but through a network invisible to everyone. Shun smiled faintly. This is only the beginning. Outside, no one realized what had truly happened. People believed they had simply purchased a useful communication device. They had no idea that hidden behind its simple interface was the first step toward an entirely new civilization. And somewhere beyond every nation's borders, 5 anonymous researchers quietly drank their evening tea, watching the future unfold exactly as they had planned. Chapter 65, A World Connected. Only 2 weeks had passed since the phone's release. Yet, the ninja world was already changing. Not through war, not through a new jutsu, but through something much simpler. Communication. In the land of fire, a merchant smiled as he finished negotiating a deal. Instead of sending a messenger hawk and waiting several days, he simply made a voice call. Within minutes, the agreement was finalized. For the first time in his life, business happened instantly. In the land of tea, a fisherman called his family before returning home. "I'm bringing fresh fish today." His wife laughed through the phone. "I'll prepare dinner." Something that once required a letter now took only a few seconds. A mother whose son worked in another country wiped tears from her eyes. For years, she had relied on letters that arrived months late. Now, she could hear her son's voice every evening. The distance between them had suddenly become much smaller. Travelers began relying on the Maps application. Roads, villages, rest stops, everything was clearly marked. People who once got lost now reached their destinations with ease. Merchants loved the Notes application. Orders, expenses, customer lists, everything was stored safely. No more lost papers, no more damaged ledgers. Small businesses quickly adopted the phones. Restaurant owners, blacksmiths, tailors, innkeepers, customers could contact them before arriving. Business became more organized. Inside the Hidden Leaf village, even several shinobi secretly bought phones. Not because they trusted the technology, but because it was useful. Mission schedules became easier to organize. Teammates contacted each other instantly. Families worried less. Even messenger hawks began carrying fewer letters. Children discovered another use. Games. Simple puzzle games. Number games. Memory games. The phones quietly became part of daily life. The virtual bank also surprised everyone. People were suspicious at first. Would their money really disappear? The answer was yes. It disappeared. Then the exact value appeared inside the phone. People tested small amounts first, then larger ones. After several successful transactions, trust slowly grew. Soon, many merchants preferred virtual payments over carrying heavy bags of coins. Bandits quickly discovered something unfortunate. They could steal a person's wallet, but they couldn't steal the money stored inside the phone without the owner's permission. The number of highway robberies slowly decreased. Deep within the hidden mountain, the 5 quietly reviewed the monthly reports. Kyan looked at the statistics. Over 93% of users make at least one voice call every day. Akira nodded. The Maps application is the second most used feature. Ren smiled. The Notes application is more popular than we expected. Daichi laughed. And look at this. He pointed toward another report. People are already complaining. Shun raised an eyebrow. What now? Daichi read aloud. They want more games. Everyone laughed. Ren shook his head. They've only had phones for 2 weeks. And they're already asking for updates. Akira smiled. That's a good sign. It means the phone has become part of their daily lives. Shun quietly looked at the world map. Hundreds of thousands of blue lights were now scattered across the continent. Every light represented one active phone. Every light represented another person connected to the network. Kyan closed his laptop. We succeeded. The others looked at him. The phone is no longer our invention. It's becoming part of the ninja world's infrastructure. Shun smiled faintly. And once people begin depending on something, they stop imagining life without it. Far away, across every nation, people believed they had simply adopted a convenient new invention. None of them realized that the greatest change wasn't the phone itself. It was that, for the first time in history, the entire ninja world had begun speaking with one another. Chapter 66, The Shinobi World Takes Notice. The phones spread across the civilian world much faster than anyone had expected. At first, most shinobi ignored them. A toy for merchants. A luxury. A civilian invention. That was the common opinion. Until the first shinobi actually used one. Hidden Leaf Village. A Jonin returned from a border patrol. Instead of writing a report, he opened the phone. Within minutes, the entire mission report had been sent to Konoha. The receptionist stared at him. That's it. The Jonin nodded. I'm already done. For the first time, a mission report arrived before the shinobi himself. Hidden Sand Village. A wind release shinobi purchased a phone out of curiosity. 3 days later, he bought one for his entire team. During patrols, the team remained several kilometers apart. Yet they coordinated perfectly through voice calls. Ambushes became easier to avoid. Search operations became more efficient. Hidden Cloud Village. The Cloud Shinobi immediately focused on one thing: speed. Their commanders quickly realized that even the fastest messenger couldn't compete with instant communication. One commander muttered, "We've spent decades increasing the speed of our bodies. And this little box ignores distance entirely." Hidden Mist Village. Many shinobi were suspicious. Could this strange device be used for espionage? Several sensor ninja examined it. Several sealing experts tried to understand it. None of them found anything. The phone simply worked. The more they investigated, the more mysterious it became. Hidden Stone Village. The Stone Shinobi valued logistics. Supplying hundreds of shinobi during missions was always difficult. Using phones, convoys coordinated deliveries with remarkable precision. Entire caravans stopped getting lost. One logistics officer sighed, "If we had these during the last war, we would have saved months of work." The 5 cage. The news spread quickly. Not because of the phones themselves, but because of their impact. Soon, reports reached every cage. Hidden Leaf. Hiruzen Sarutobi quietly placed the report on his desk. He adjusted his pipe. "So, a communication tool." One Anbu knelt before him. "Lord Hokage, it has already spread throughout the merchant community. Several shinobi have begun purchasing it as well." Hiruzen asked, "Any evidence it's dangerous?" "No." "Any confirmed espionage?" "No." "Any hidden chakra manipulation?" Our sealing experts found nothing. Hiruzen remained silent. Then he smiled. "Interesting." Hidden Cloud. The third Raikage looked at the phone in his massive hand. "It's small." The advisor nodded. "It appears ordinary." The Raikage pressed a few buttons. A moment later, he heard another advisor's voice from the opposite side of the village. His eyes widened. Instantly, the advisor nodded. "Yes." The Raikage laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha, I like this thing. Buy more." Hidden Stone Onoki floated silently in his office. Several phones rested on his desk. He examined one carefully. "Who made it?" "No one knows." "Where?" "No one knows." "How?" "No one knows." Onoki frowned. "I don't like mysteries." But, even he admitted one thing. The invention was useful. Hidden Mist. The third Mizukage looked at the reports with suspicion. No creator. No village. No clan. No signature. His advisors were equally confused. One finally spoke. "Should we ban them?" The Mizukage shook his head. "No. If every other nation adopts them, we'll only isolate ourselves." Hidden Sand. The third cage calmly listened to the reports. His advisors finished explaining the phone's abilities. He remained thoughtful. If this invention continues spreading, the balance of information across the ninja world will change. His words silenced the room. He understood something others had not. This wasn't simply a communication device. It was changing how information itself moved. Deep within the hidden mountain, the 5 quietly watched the reports arriving through their management system. News articles, merchant statistics, public reactions, everything appeared on their screens. Daichi laughed. "The Raikage actually likes it." Ren smiled. "I expected the Mizukage to ban it." Akira adjusted his glasses. "They couldn't. Once communication becomes this convenient, stopping it becomes nearly impossible." Kaien looked at another report. "The cage are already investigating us." Shun calmly sipped his tea. "They'll find nothing. Our distributor knows nothing. Our identities don't exist. Our workshop doesn't exist. Our phones arrive through teleportation." Ren chuckled. "They're probably imagining some legendary inventor." Shun smiled faintly. "Good. The less they know about us, the more they focus on the invention itself." Outside, the 5 great villages all reached the same conclusion. No one knew who had created the phone. No one knew where it came from. No one knew how it worked. But every cage understood one thing. The ninja world had changed. And whatever hidden force had introduced this technology had just made its first move. Chapter 67, The Pressure Begins. 2 months passed. The phones continued spreading throughout the ninja world. The first month, people admired their convenience. The second month, the hidden villages finally understood their true value. It wasn't simply a communication device. It was infrastructure. Whoever controlled the network controlled the flow of information. That realization changed everything. Across the 5 great nations, the Merchant Association began receiving unexpected visitors. Not merchants, not customers, shinobi, elite shinobi. Inside one branch, a Konoha delegation quietly entered. The leader placed a document on the table. "We wish to meet the creator." The branch manager bowed politely. "I'm sorry, we don't know who they are." The room fell silent. The Konoha representative stared into his eyes. "Then find them." "We cannot. They contact us. We've never met them under their true identities." The delegation eventually left, but the message was clear. This was no longer an ordinary business discussion. The hidden stone, The hidden mist, the hidden sand, all sent representatives. Every meeting followed the same pattern. Reveal the creator. Sell us the technology. Work exclusively with our village. Every time, the Merchant Association gave the same answer. We don't know. And every time, the representatives left dissatisfied. Then, the pressure escalated. Inside Konoha, Danzo sat in the darkness beneath Root headquarters. A report rested before him. He slowly closed it. Unknown inventors. Unknown location. Unknown transportation method. He looked toward one of his Root operatives. Increase the pressure. If persuasion fails, find another method. The operative bowed. Understood. In the hidden cloud, the third Raikage slammed his fist onto the table. The Merchant Association knows something. His advisors remained silent. The Raikage's voice became heavier. Tell them, they either reveal the creators, or face the consequences. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Everyone in the room understood. Soon, Merchant Association branches across the continent began receiving threats. Some were subtle, some were direct, some came as offers of unimaginable wealth. Others, as warnings. The message was always the same. Reveal the creators, or, the sentence never needed to be spoken aloud. Everyone already understood what came next. Inside the Merchant Association headquarters, Hiroshi looked exhausted. His desk was buried beneath reports, threats, summons, official requests, secret invitations, even assassination warnings. One manager asked quietly, "What do we do?" Hiroshi looked at the contract locked inside his drawer. Then he answered firmly, "We honor our agreement. We truly don't know who they are. And even if we did, we gave our word." The room fell silent. Merchants valued profit, but they valued reputation even more. Breaking this contract would destroy 40 years of trust. Deep within the hidden mountain, a notification appeared on Kyan's laptop. Urgent report from distributor. He opened it immediately. The room became silent as everyone read. Pressure from Konoha. Pressure from Kumogakure. Pressure from every major nation. Threats. Investigations. Political demands. Ren slowly closed the report. So, it finally started. Akira nodded. It was inevitable. The moment the cage realized the phones weren't just tools. They became strategic assets. Daichi cracked his knuckles. So, should we wipe out whoever threatens our distributor? Kyan shook his head immediately. No, that would only prove the Merchant Association knows us. Shun remained unusually calm. They're acting exactly as we predicted. The cage aren't evil. They're protecting their villages. If another nation controlled this technology, we'd investigate too. Akira nodded. So the problem isn't the cage. It's the lack of trust. Kyan looked at the report one final time. Our distributor has done everything we asked. They haven't revealed anything. They deserve our support. Shun smiled faintly. Then, it's time for the next phase. The other four looked toward him. The Merchant Association has been standing in front of us as a shield. It's time we give them one of our own. Silence filled the room. For the first time since introducing the phones, the five realized that remaining completely invisible would no longer be enough. The ninja world had begun searching for the people behind the revolution. And sooner or later, they would have to decide how much of themselves they were willing to reveal. Chapter 68, The Warning. The next morning, the entire ninja world woke to unimaginable news. Within a single night, every one of the 5 great hidden villages had suffered the same fate. At the gates of Konoha, people gathered in horror. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, hung unconscious from the massive entrance gate. His robes were torn, his face was bruised black and blue. Yet, there wasn't a single fatal wound. A short distance away, Danzo hung in exactly the same condition. Around them, several root commanders and elite jonin were suspended from wooden poles. Every one of them was unconscious. Every one of them had clearly been defeated. Without anyone noticing, the hidden cloud, the third Raikage was found hanging before Kumogakure's main gate. His body was covered with bruises. The strongest shield of the cloud had been beaten unconscious. Beside him, the village's strongest jonin and elite commanders hung in complete silence. The hidden stone, the third Tsuchikage, Onoki, several veteran commanders, the elite guard, all defeated, all hanging before the village gates. The hidden mist, the Mizukage, the 7 ninja swordsmen who had been present in the village. Every cage-level combatant, defeated during the same night. The hidden sand, the third cage, along with the village's strongest shinobi, hung before Sunagakure's entrance. Not one had died, not one remembered what had happened. Medical teams rushed to examine them. Broken bones, severe bruising, concussions, yet, no permanent injuries. It was as if the attackers had deliberately stopped just short of killing them. The investigations began immediately. Witnesses were questioned. Sensor ninja searched for chakra. Tracking squads inspected every street. The result? Nothing. One elite Jonin whispered, "I saw someone, but the moment I tried to remember, the face disappeared." Another shinobi shook his head. "I only remember waking up on the ground." A third muttered, "I never even saw the attacker. No footprints. No chakra signature. No evidence." It was as though ghosts had walked through every hidden village. Just as panic reached its peak, every activated phone across the ninja world vibrated simultaneously. A single notification appeared. Public announcement. "We heard that the major villages wished to meet us. Asterisk. Last night, we believe we met enough people. Asterisk. Do not make conducting our business difficult. Asterisk. Do not threaten our partners. Asterisk. If you interfere again. Asterisk. The next meeting will not end with unconscious leaders. Asterisk. It will end with your village choosing a new cage. Asterisk." Silence spread across the continent. People reread the message again and again. The words were calm. There was no boasting, no insults, no demands for money or power. Only a warning. Inside Konoha Hospital, Hiruzen slowly regained consciousness. The first thing he heard was the notification being read aloud. He closed his eyes. "So, they spared us." Nearby, Danzo slowly woke as well. For the first time in many years, he remained completely silent. In Kumogakure, the third Raikage sat up with difficulty. His entire body ached. He clenched his fists. Then, he slowly relaxed them. "I never even threw a punch." That realization frightened him more than the injuries. In Iwagakure, Onoki floated silently beside the hospital window. He looked toward the distant horizon. "We were warned, and we ignored it." Deep within the hidden mountain, the five quietly drank their morning tea. Not one of them mentioned the night's events. Finally, Daichi broke the silence. "They should stop bothering the Merchant Association now." Kaien calmly nodded. "That was the objective." Ren smiled. "No one died. No villages were destroyed. They simply received a lesson." Akira looked at the latest intelligence reports. The effect was greater than expected. "No one remembers our faces. No one remembers our chakra. They only remember losing." Shun quietly closed his laptop. "Good. We're researchers, not conquerors. If a warning is enough, there's no need for anything more." Outside, the five great villages reached the same conclusion. Whoever stood behind the phones was not merely an inventor. They possessed enough power to infiltrate every hidden village in a single night, defeat every top fighter, and leave without a trace. From that day onward, no cage dared threaten the Merchant Association again. Chapter 69, A New Balance. The warning achieved its purpose. Within a single day, every threat against the Merchant Association disappeared. The investigations did not stop, but they became cautious. No village wished to repeat what had happened. Inside Konoha, an emergency council meeting was held. Hiruzen sat quietly in his chair. His injuries had mostly healed. The room remained silent. Finally, one elder spoke. "We should continue searching." Hiruzen slowly shook his head. "They warned us first. We ignored the warning. We paid the price." He looked around the room. "From this day onward, the Merchant Association is not to be threatened. If we wish to contact the inventors, we do so through proper business channels." No one objected. Even Danzo remained unusually quiet. In Kumogakure, the third Raikage slammed a training dummy instead of a table. The dummy exploded into splinters. His advisors remained silent. After a long moment, the Raikage sighed. "We lost. Not in a war, not politically. Simply, completely." He looked at the report. "Cancel every operation against the Merchant Association." One advisor hesitated. "What if another village gains their support?" The Raikage answered calmly. "Then we'll compete honestly. If they refuse us, we'll create something better ourselves." The room fell silent. For the first time, the Raikage chose innovation over intimidation. In Iwagakure, Onoki looked at the phone resting on his desk. "It appears, the age of simply stealing technology has ended." One of his advisors asked, "What should we do?" Onoki smiled faintly. "Research. If unknown people can create something like this, so can we." In Kurigakure, the Mizukage issued only one order. No one is to interfere with the Merchant Association. If they continue selling phones, let them observe, learn. Sunagakure reached the same conclusion. The third cage quietly instructed the village's researchers. Study the impact of this technology. Not the device, the society changing around it. Deep within the hidden mountain, the five read report after report. Akira closed one document. Every village has backed down. Ren smiled. The warning worked. Daichi laughed. "I told you one good beating solves many problems." Kaien looked at him. "It solved this problem, but our real goal was never to frighten the villages." Shun nodded. Our goal was to make them treat innovation with respect. The room became quiet. Kayan looked at another report. Interesting. The others turned toward him. The villages have changed their strategy. They've begun investing in their own researchers. They're funding inventors. They're encouraging new ideas. Ren smiled. So, we accidentally started a technological race. Shun gently placed his teacup on the table. No, we started competition. And competition creates progress. Everyone nodded. That had been their philosophy from the beginning. Not conquest. Not domination. Progress. Outside, the ninja world slowly adapted to a new reality. For generations, the strength of a village had been measured by its shinobi. Now, another measure had quietly appeared. Knowledge, research, innovation. And somewhere beyond the eyes of the 5 great nations, 5 anonymous Uchihas returned to their ordinary routine. Morning, dungeon, afternoon, research, evening, tea, as if they had not just changed the course of history. Chapter 70, Beyond Their Understanding. Following the incident with the cage, the 5 great nations changed their strategy. If they couldn't force the creators to reveal themselves, then they would understand the technology themselves. Every village gathered its best sealing masters. The target, the phone, hidden cloud village. The greatest sealing experts of Kumogakure examined the phone for 7 straight days. They poured chakra into it. They used detection techniques. They attempted to trace every seal. Nothing worked. Finally, the oldest sealing master sighed. I give up. Another looked at the phone with frustration. I can't even identify where one seal begins and another ends. The third Raikage silently accepted the report. Hidden Stone Village. Iwagakure's researchers dismantled every theoretical model they could imagine. Yet, the moment they thought they had understood one section, the seal changed. A younger researcher stared in disbelief. It moved. The chief researcher nodded. The seal reorganized itself. It corrected its own structure. They could only conclude one thing. This technology is beyond us. Hidden Mist Village. Kurigakure's sealing division reached the same conclusion. One expert rubbed his temples. We're trying to read a book. While every sentence keeps rewriting itself. No one argued. The report submitted to the Mizukage contained only one sentence. Unable to analyze. Hidden Sand Village. Sunagakure's seal masters spent nearly 2 weeks studying a single phone. At the end, the chief researcher bowed before the third cage. I'm sorry. We don't understand any part of it. The cage simply nodded. He had expected that answer. Hidden Leaf Village. Konoha refused to give up. The Hokage ordered every sealing expert in the village to gather. Veteran researchers, barrier specialists, storage seal experts, medical seal users, everyone, even 2 people who normally had little interest in research were invited. Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. The meeting lasted the entire day. Scrolls covered the walls. Dozens of sealing formulas were compared. Hours passed. One by one, the village's sealing masters lowered their heads. I can't understand it. It's completely different from modern sealing techniques. The logic doesn't match anything we've ever seen. Finally, only Minato and Kushina remained. Minato carefully observed the phone. His analytical mind followed one sealing layer after another. Then, he smiled bitterly. I can understand fragments, but only fragments. It's like looking at a single brick, while trying to imagine an entire city. The room became silent. Everyone looked toward Kushina. As a member of the Uzumaki clan, her sealing knowledge surpassed almost everyone present. She remained silent for several minutes. Then, she put the phone back onto the table. Her expression was unusually serious. She spoke bluntly. The sealing techniques of the Uzumaki clan. She paused. Are nothing more than a child's drawings compared to this. The room froze. No one had ever heard Kushina speak so harshly about her own clan. She continued. And what's even more terrifying? The seals aren't fixed. She pointed toward the phone. They're constantly reorganizing themselves. They're observing. They're optimizing. They're evolving. Every sealing master in the room looked at the phone again. Kushina slowly shook her head. This isn't just a seal. It's an entire living system made from seals. Minato nodded. I reached the same conclusion. He looked toward Hiruzen. If we compare ordinary sealing techniques to a handwritten notebook. He held up the phone. Then this is an entire civilization. Silence filled the room. Hiruzen quietly picked up his pipe. So, can Konoha reproduce it? No one answered. Because everyone already knew the answer. No, not today. Perhaps not even in several generations. Far away, within the hidden mountain, the 5 quietly read the intelligence report. Daichi laughed. Kushina is honest. Akira smiled faintly. She's also the closest to understanding. Kayan nodded. She recognized the key difference. Ren leaned back in his chair. Self-organizing seals. Shun took a sip of tea. They're not impossible to understand. They're simply trying to understand the final result, without first discovering the thousands of smaller ideas that came before it. The five returned to their research. They felt neither pride nor arrogance. To them, the phone wasn't a miracle. It was simply the result of years of asking one question after another. And they had no intention of stopping there. Chapter 71, The Next Revolution. A few days later, the five gathered in their research room as usual. Tea rested on the table. Laptops displayed reports from across the ninja world. Kyan closed the latest intelligence report. The villages have stopped trying to steal the technology. Akira nodded. They've accepted that they're decades behind. Ren smiled. Which means, we finally have some peace. Daichi stretched lazily. So, what's our next project? The room became quiet. Everyone looked toward Shun. He remained silent for a long moment. Then, he smiled. The internet. The other four looked at him. The phones changed how people communicate. The internet will change how people share knowledge. Ren leaned forward. Explain. Shun stood and walked to the blackboard. He drew a circle. This is one phone. Then he drew thousands of circles connected by lines. This is a network. He looked at everyone. Right now, people can only talk to someone they already know. But imagine, if everyone could exchange information, knowledge, ideas, business, entertainment, without ever meeting. Akira's eyes slowly widened. So, a global information network. Shun nodded. Exactly. Kyan immediately began analyzing. Merchants could advertise. Doctors could share medical knowledge. Researchers could publish discoveries. Schools could teach remotely. Ren smiled. Writers could publish books without printing them. Daichi laughed. And people could argue with strangers. The room burst into laughter. Shun nodded. Probably. After the laughter settled, he continued. But before that, we need something simpler. He wrote another word on the board. Forum. A place where people can ask questions, share ideas, discuss techniques, exchange knowledge. Akira nodded. A controlled environment. If it succeeds, we expand. Ren added. We'll also need user accounts, moderation, search functions. Kyan smiled. And security. Lots of security. Daichi scratched his head. This sounds bigger than the phone. Shun nodded. It is. The phone was only the doorway. The internet is the city beyond that door. Silence filled the room. Everyone understood. They had thought the phone was the final product. It wasn't. It was only the foundation. Kyan opened his laptop. I'll begin designing the network architecture. Akira nodded. I'll work on data storage. Ren smiled. I'll design the user interface. Daichi grinned. I'll test everything by trying to break it. The others laughed. Shun opened the shop system. Once again, a custom order window appeared. He began typing. Project name, World Information Network. Requirements, Global Communication Framework, Distributed Information Storage, Secure User Authentication, Scalable Application Support, and Future Expansion Capability. He pressed submit. The request disappeared. A few seconds later, a reply arrived. Project accepted. Estimated complexity, extremely high. Estimated development assistance, available. Ren smiled. Even the shop system thinks we're crazy. Shun closed the laptop. No. He looked toward the mountains beyond the window. It simply knows. We're only getting started. Outside, the ninja world celebrated the arrival of the phone. Completely unaware that the five anonymous researchers had already moved on to their next revolution. The phone had connected people. Their next invention would connect the world's knowledge itself. Chapter 72, The Dungeon Report. 1 month later, the five gathered around their laptops as usual. But today's meeting wasn't about the internet project. Kyan had called everyone together for another reason. The monthly management report has arrived. He opened the management system. A blue screen appeared before the five. Management report. Managed users, 23. Average user level, 18. Highest user level, 20. Monthly experience transfer, completed. Monthly gold coin tax, completed. Daichi smiled. They're growing quickly. Akira nodded. Faster than ordinary shinobi. Kyan continued reading. Another window appeared. User statistics. Dungeon clears, 2,317. Bosses defeated, 2,317. User deaths, 0. Permanent injuries, 0. Ren smiled. Not a single death. Shun nodded. They've become cautious. They learned from us. Kyan opened another page. This one contained individual reports. Every user's dungeon history. Every level gained. Every item purchased. Every piece of feedback. Akira looked impressed. The management system records everything. Shun smiled. That's why it's useful. Daichi suddenly pointed at the screen. Fugaku. Everyone looked. User, Fugaku. Current level, 20. Dungeon clear rate, 100%. Performance rating, excellent. Ren laughed. I knew he'd become the strongest. Kaien nodded. He also manages the others. He naturally became their leader. Another report caught Akira's attention. Team cooperation, excellent. Average casualties per dungeon, 0. Akira smiled. They've stopped acting alone. They're entering as teams. Shun nodded. Exactly as we hoped. The dungeon system wasn't just making individuals stronger. It was improving teamwork. Kaien scrolled further, then stopped. A new notification appeared. Management recommendation. Current manager capacity, 100 users. Current active users, 23. Unused capacity, 77 users. Daichi immediately grinned. So, when do we recruit more? Kaien remained thoughtful. Not yet. The others looked toward him. Our first group has only been training for a few months. They still need guidance. If we recruit another 77 people now, our workload will multiply. Akira nodded. Quality before quantity. Ren smiled. Besides, we're already busy creating the internet. Shun quietly closed the report. The first generation of users must become examples. When they become truly powerful, they'll help train the second generation. Daichi laughed. So we're making managers, who will later become managers themselves. Kaien nodded. Exactly. A stable organization grows from the bottom upward. The room became quiet. Outside, 23 elite Uchihas continued clearing dungeons every day. Without realizing it, they weren't just becoming stronger. They were becoming the foundation of an organization that one day would spread across countless worlds. Deep within the hidden mountain, the 5 researchers returned to their usual routine. Morning, dungeon. Afternoon, internet research. Evening, tea. Night, planning the future. To them, strength and knowledge had never been separate paths. They were simply 2 sides of the same journey. Chapter 73, Return to the Monster Horde Dungeon. The next morning, for the first time in several months, Kaien closed his laptop before breakfast. No research today. The other 4 looked up. No management reports, no internet project, no phone updates. Daichi smiled. So, what are we doing? Kaien stood and picked up his sword. We're going back. Ren immediately understood. The Monster Horde Dungeon. Kaien nodded. It's been too long. Our strength has increased. Our Susanoo control has improved. It's time to test ourselves. Everyone silently agreed. The Monster Horde Dungeon had always been their favorite battlefield. Thousands of enemies. Constant pressure. No room for mistakes. It was the perfect place to sharpen their skills. A few minutes later, the 5 stood before the dungeon portal. The familiar notification appeared. Special Dungeon. Monster Horde. Difficulty. Level 25. Warning. Extremely high monster density. Daichi grinned. Finally, a proper warm-up. Ren laughed. You call this a warm-up? Shun smiled. For him, it probably is. Kaien selected enter. The world around them blurred. A moment later, the 5 appeared inside a vast valley. As far as the eye could see, monsters covered the landscape. Thousands. No, tens of thousands. The ground trembled beneath their footsteps. The sky was filled with flying creatures. The mountains themselves seemed alive. Daichi slowly cracked his neck. I've missed this. The monsters noticed them. A deafening roar echoed across the valley. Every creature charged simultaneously. Kaien calmly drew his sword. Formation Alpha. Without another word, the 5 moved. Years of teamwork required no further communication. Akira and Kaien took the skies. Their partial Susanoo wings unfolded instantly, chakra wrapping around their bodies like armor. Flying monsters rushed toward them. Kaien extended his arm. Golden sealing chains erupted from his Susanoo, lashing across the sky. They wrapped around dozens of monsters at once, binding and crushing them midair. Beside him, Akira moved with precision. Fine chakra threads extended from his fingertips, enhanced by his partial Susanoo. The threads sliced through the air like invisible blades, cutting apart enemies before they even realized they were attacked. Below, Ren vanished. A blur, a flash. His sword moved faster than the eye could follow, each strike amplified by his partial Susanoo. Every swing released arcs of destructive energy. Dozens of monsters fell with each motion. Shun stepped forward calmly. His black blade gleamed. A skeletal Susanoo arm formed around him, reinforcing every strike. His movements were silent, efficient, deadly. Each slash of his black blade cut cleanly through multiple enemies, leaving nothing but falling corpses behind. Meanwhile, Daichi laughed loudly. Come. A massive skeletal Susanoo arm formed around his own. His giant chakra hammer, reinforced by partial Susanoo, swung forward. Boom! The earth shattered. Hundreds of monsters were launched into the air. Before they could land, Ren's sword arcs and Shun's black blade energy cut them apart mid-air. The battlefield instantly became a slaughterhouse. Blood stained the valley. Monster corpses piled higher and higher. Yet, the horde never stopped. More monsters continued appearing from every direction. Kaien looked across the battlefield. Good. This is exactly what we needed. Akira smiled. Our coordination hasn't declined. It has improved. The battle continued. 1 hour. 2 hours. 3 hours. Not one of the 5 slowed down. Instead, their movements became smoother. Their teamwork became even more seamless. Every attack, every technique, every motion, was enhanced by their mastery of partial Susanoo. Every battle, every dungeon, every experiment, had sharpened them beyond what they once believed possible. High above the battlefield, hidden beyond the clouds, a familiar husky wearing a business suit quietly watched the massacre. He held a clipboard in one paw. Monsters. He sighed dramatically. I almost feel sorry for you. Then he looked at the 5 below. A smile slowly spread across his face. But, my first management team, really has become terrifying. He quietly marked another check on his clipboard. Combat ability, outstanding. Then he sat down on a floating chair, ready to enjoy the rest of the battle like it was a movie. Chapter 74, The Horde King. 4 hours had passed. 4 entire hours. The valley, no longer a battlefield. It had officially been promoted to a mass grave. Mountains of monster corpses stacked so high they could probably qualify as tourist attractions. The air was thick with blood. And also, a faint smell of regret. Yet, in the middle of this horrifying masterpiece, the 5 Uchihas stood calmly. Not panting, not sweating, not even slightly annoyed. Their breathing was steady, their movements still sharp, as if they had just started. Honestly, it was a little insulting. Far above, the husky adjusted his glasses and checked his clipboard. They've already eliminated more than 90%. He flipped a page. Efficiency rating, terrifying. He nodded. That should be enough. The moment he finished speaking, the entire valley shook violently. Boom. The ground cracked open like it had just remembered it owed someone money. The endless swarm of monsters suddenly stopped. Then, they ran. Yes, ran. Ren blinked. They're retreating. Akira narrowed his eyes. No, they're not retreating. They're making way. A deafening roar exploded across the dungeon. The mountains of corpses were thrown aside like trash. Something massive began to rise. Slowly, dramatically, very dramatically, a giant monster emerged from the shattered earth. Nearly 100 meters tall. A heavily armored minotaur. Black scales gleamed like polished steel. Crimson horns curved toward the sky like they were trying to stab the heavens themselves. And in its hand, a battle axe so large it looked like it could casually delete mountains. A blue notification appeared. Final boss. Horde King. Level 26. Daichi's eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. Now we're talking. Kaien raised a hand calmly. Don't rush. This one is different. Shun suddenly froze. Wait. He pointed at the notification. This is a level 25 dungeon. He looked back at the giant. So why is the boss level 26? Silence. Then, Ren smirked. Yeah, this smells like management interference. Akira sighed deeply. Didn't someone say they had paperwork? And yet here we are. Far above, the husky froze mid-chip. Slowly, very slowly, he looked down. They noticed. He coughed, adjusted his tie, then aggressively pretended to read his clipboard. Very busy. Extremely busy. Important paperwork. Below, the Horde King raised its axe. Then, swung. Boom. A shockwave tore across the valley like reality itself had been slapped. The ground exploded. Everything shattered. Except, the 5 Uchihas were already gone. The shockwave passed harmlessly beneath them. Akira and Kaien soared into the sky. Ren and Shun split to opposite sides. And Daichi charged straight at the giant like a man who had absolutely no concept of fear. Ha. His skeletal Susanoo arm expanded. His massive chakra hammer came crashing down. Boom. The impact echoed for kilometers. The Horde King staggered. One step back. Daichi grinned like a maniac. Oh good, you can move. The giant responded by trying to delete him from existence. Another massive swing. But, clang, Shun intercepted. His blade, wrapped in Susanoo chakra, clashed against the colossal axe. Shockwaves exploded outward. Ren appeared behind the monster. Slash. Dozens of sword strikes carved into its back. Sparks flew. But, only shallow cuts. Ren frowned. Okay. That's rude. The armor is tougher than expected. Kaien remained calm. Target the joints. Stop showing off. Ren coughed. I wasn't showing off. Instantly, the team adapted. Akira's chakra threads wrapped around the giant's ankles. Kaien's golden chains locked one arm in place. Shun focused on the knees. Ren targeted the shoulders and neck. And Daichi became the official problem solver. Every time the giant stumbled. Boom, hammer. Again. Boom, hammer. Again. Boom, hammer. At this point, the Horde King was probably reconsidering its life choices. The battle dragged on. 1 hour. Then another. Neither side gained a clear advantage. Far above, the Husky opened another bag of chips. Excellent. Crunch. Absolutely excellent. Crunch. This is better than TV. Below, the 5 exchanged glances. No words. No hesitation. Just understanding. Kaien nodded once. That was enough. 5 pairs of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan spun. The battlefield trembled. The air itself seemed to panic. For the first time since entering the dungeon, they stopped holding back. Massive chakra surged. 5 towering figures began to form. Not skeletal, not partial, but fully armored, majestic, terrifying. Overkill. The humanoid Susanoo. The Horde King's crimson eyes widened. For the first time since the battle began, it took a step back. A very clear step back. Because even monsters know when they've made a mistake. The real battle was just getting started. Chapter 75, 5 against 1. The valley trembled. 5 towering humanoid Susanoo stood against the 100-meter-tall Horde King. For the first time, the battlefield became silent. Even the remaining monsters instinctively retreated. They could sense it. The real monsters were no longer on their side. High above, the Husky lowered his bag of chips. Well, this escalated quickly. He immediately grabbed another bag. This deserves premium snacks. Below, the Horde King roared. The sound shook the mountains. Daichi laughed louder. Oh, you think you're scary? His humanoid Susanoo stepped forward. Then, charged. Boom. Each step shattered the valley floor. The Horde King swung its colossal axe downward. Daichi didn't dodge. Instead, his gigantic chakra hammer met the axe head-on. Claang. The collision created a shockwave powerful enough to flatten nearby mountains. The ground split apart for kilometers. Daichi grinned. Again, while the 2 giants wrestled with raw strength, the others moved. Kaien's humanoid Susanoo spread its wings. Golden sealing chains erupted in every direction. They wrapped around the Horde King's right arm. Its movements slowed. Akira immediately followed. His chakra threads spread across the battlefield like an invisible web. Every joint, every opening, every weakness, was marked. Ren, left shoulder. Shun, neck. The 2 disappeared simultaneously. Flash. Ren's humanoid Susanoo drew its blade. A crescent of sword energy stretched across the valley. Slash. The Horde King's left shoulder exploded with sparks. Before it could react, Shun appeared on the opposite side. His black blade descended silently. The Susanoo amplified every ounce of force. Boom. The giant's neck erupted with cracks. The black scales finally broke. Dark blood poured out. The Horde King roared in pain. Ren smiled. There we go. It bleeds. Enraged, the giant released an explosion of black energy. Kaien's chains shattered. Akira's chakra threads snapped. The Horde King raised both hands. The entire valley shook violently. Massive pillars of stone erupted from underground. Thousands of razor-sharp spikes covered the battlefield. Daichi whistled. Not bad. Shun calmly nodded. Earth release. On a ridiculous scale. Kaien's eyes narrowed. Formation beta. Without hesitation, the 5 changed positions. Daichi became the shield. His humanoid Susanoo planted its hammer into the ground. Boom. A massive wall of chakra formed in front of the others. The stone spikes shattered against it. At the same time, Akira and Kaien took to the sky once more. Ren and Shun rushed beneath the giant's legs. The coordination was flawless. Years of fighting together had turned instinct into perfection. Far above, the Husky slowly lowered his clipboard. Seriously, they're changing formations without saying a single word. He scratched his head. I should recruit more teams like this. He thought for a second. Actually, no, that sounds impossible. The battle entered its 3rd hour. The Horde King breathed heavily. Its armor was covered in cracks. One horn had broken. Its axe was chipped. Across the battlefield, the 5 stood calmly inside their humanoid Susanoo. Not one had suffered a serious injury. Kaien looked at the others. It's time. Everyone nodded. Daichi laughed. Finally, I've been waiting. The 5 humanoid Susanoo raised their weapons simultaneously. The chakra surrounding them surged wildly. The sky darkened. Even the husky stopped eating. Oh, they're actually using it. He quickly sat up. His tail began wagging excitedly. They're finally testing that technique. Below, 5 enormous chakra signatures began resonating with one another. For the first time, instead of fighting as 5 separate warriors, their Susanoo chakra started merging into a single synchronized formation. The Horde King instinctively stepped backward. Every instinct screamed the same warning. Run. But it was already too late. Chapter 76, The 5-Point Formation. The battlefield fell silent. 5 humanoid Susanoo stood in a perfect circle around the Horde King. Each one occupied a different direction. North, south, east, west, center. Kyan's voice echoed calmly. 5-point formation. The 5 Susanoo simultaneously extended one hand toward the center. Golden chakra streams erupted from each of them. The 5 streams connected. A glowing pentagram formed beneath the Horde King. The moment it was completed, the entire dungeon trembled. Far above, the husky's eyes widened. Wait, they actually completed it. He quickly searched through his clipboard. No, this technique isn't even finished. He looked back down. These lunatics, they finished it by themselves. Below, the Horde King sensed danger. It roared furiously. Its gigantic axe descended toward Kyan. But before it could reach him, golden chains erupted from the formation itself. 1, 10, hundreds, thousands. Every chain wrapped around the giant's body. Its arms, its legs, its waist, its neck. The Horde King struggled with all its strength. The valley shook violently. Mountains collapsed. The chains stretched, but they didn't break. Kyan smiled faintly. Now, instantly, Akira's humanoid Susanoo spread both hands. Thousands of chakra threads merged into the ceiling formation. The golden chains instantly became even tighter. Every movement of the giant slowed. Ren laughed. It's not moving anymore. Shun nodded. Perfect target. Daichi cracked his neck. My turn. His humanoid Susanoo raised the enormous chakra hammer. Not above its shoulder. Above its head. Higher. Higher. The hammer continued growing. 50 meters. 80 meters. 100 meters. Pure condensed chakra surrounded its surface. Even the air distorted. The husky slowly stood up. That looks expensive. Daichi grinned. Home run. Boom. The gigantic hammer descended. The impact shook the entire dungeon. The valley disappeared beneath a cloud of dust. Shockwaves spread in every direction. Nearby mountains crumbled. The ground sank hundreds of meters. For several long seconds, nothing could be seen. The dust slowly settled. A gigantic crater had replaced the valley. At its center, the Horde King remained standing. Barely. Its armor had shattered. One arm was gone. Its battle axe had broken in half. Dark blood poured from countless wounds. Daichi blinked. Seriously. Ren laughed. I actually respect it now. Kyan remained calm. Finish it. The 5 moved simultaneously. No hesitation. No wasted movement. Akira's chakra threads immobilized the remaining arm. Kyan's sealing chains locked the giant completely in place. Daichi's hammer struck the chest. Boom. The ribs shattered. Ren flashed past. His sword severed the remaining horn. Shun appeared directly before the monster. His humanoid Susanoo raised the black blade. Everything became silent. One clean strike. Slash. The sword passed through the Horde King's neck. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then, a thin line appeared. The gigantic head slowly slid from its shoulders. Boom. The 100-meter-tall body collapsed. The dungeon shook one final time. A blue notification appeared before the 5. Congratulations. Special dungeon cleared. Boss defeated. Synchronization increased. Experience awarded. Bonus reward granted. The 5 deactivated their humanoid Susanoo almost simultaneously. The valley became quiet once more. High above, the husky silently closed his clipboard. Monsters. He looked at the 5. Then corrected himself. No, the real monsters were never the boss. He sighed. I should probably increase the recommended level of this dungeon. Then he paused. Actually, he smiled. They'll probably clear it anyway. Below, Daichi stretched lazily. So, T. Ren nodded immediately. Definitely T. Kyan smiled. Agreed. Shun looked at the giant corpse one last time. Our teamwork has reached another level. The 5 collected their rewards. Then, chatting as casually as if they had just finished morning exercise, they walked toward the dungeon exit. Behind them, the strongest boss of the Monster Horde dungeon slowly dissolved into particles of light. A dungeon that had been designed for armies. had fallen to 5 researchers who simply wanted to test a new formation. Chapter 77, Beyond Level 20. The 5 stepped out of the dungeon. A pillar of light carried them back to their hidden mountain. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, 5 notifications appeared simultaneously. Special dungeon cleared. Synchronization complete. Experience gained. Level up. Current level, 21. Daichi blinked. Finally, we leveled up. Ren smiled. So after all that, we only gained 1 level. Akira nodded. As expected, the higher we climb, the slower our growth becomes. Kaien calmly opened his status panel. The experience required increased nearly tenfold. Shun wasn't surprised. It should. If growth remained this easy, we'd reach the end in a few months. The others nodded. That would make no sense. Back at the house, the 5 sat around their usual table. Tea was already prepared. Daichi took 1 sip. Tea after a dungeon really is the best. Ren laughed. I thought you'd say meat. I can have both. Akira suddenly looked at his status panel. Wait, something changed. Everyone opened theirs. A new tab had appeared. Level 21 achieved. New function unlocked. Skill creation. Ren raised an eyebrow. Skill creation. Shun immediately opened the description. Skill creation. Users may create personal skills by combining existing knowledge, abilities, and combat experience. The system will record, optimize, and convert successful concepts into usable skills. Silence. Then, Daichi slowly looked at the others. So, the system finally understands that we're researchers. Kaien smiled. This function suits us perfectly. Akira was already thinking, so our sealing techniques, our swordsmanship, our chakra control, everything can become system-recognized skills. Ren laughed. I suddenly have about 50 ideas. Shun nodded. So do I. High above, the husky watched from his floating chair. He looked at the newly unlocked function. Finally, I've been waiting for this. He smiled proudly. Now, they'll stop copying techniques and start creating them. He suddenly paused. Actually, he scratched his head. Who am I kidding? They've been creating techniques since before I met them. He sighed. This function is more like paperwork catching up to reality. Back in the house, Kaien stood before the blackboard. He wrote 1 sentence. Rule number 1. Never create techniques inside the ninja world first. Everyone nodded. Ren understood immediately. If something explodes, it explodes inside a dungeon. Akira smiled. The monsters become test subjects. Daichi laughed loudly. I like those test subjects. Shun added another sentence. Research, test, improve, then release. The others nodded again. It had always been their philosophy. The system hadn't changed them. It had merely provided better tools. Shun quietly looked toward the mountains outside. Level 21 isn't just another level, it's the beginning of our own path. For ordinary users, leveling meant becoming stronger. For the 5, it meant something entirely different. The ability to transform ideas into reality. And somewhere inside the dungeon system, the husky quietly updated their evaluation. Research Team Alpha. Threat level, increasing. Creativity level, excessive. Recommendation. Never interrupt their research unless absolutely necessary. The husky looked at the report. Then silently added 1 more line. Additional note, pray they don't start experimenting on me. Chapter 78, Project One World. 2 months later, the internet project was progressing steadily. The phones had become an ordinary part of daily life across the ninja world. The Merchant Association continued expanding without any major problems. Inside the hidden mountain, the 5 gathered for another meeting. Today's topic wasn't technology, it was the dungeon system. Kaien looked around the table. I think the time has come. The others nodded. Ren smiled. The public launch. Kaien answered. Yes, the phones have already become part of people's lives. Now we introduce the game. Akira added. But only as a game. No one needs to know the truth yet. Everyone agreed. The dungeon system would appear to be nothing more than a revolutionary virtual game. Only the selected users would know that the strength they gained inside was completely real. At that moment, a familiar blue portal opened. The husky walked out carrying an unusually thick stack of documents. I've got good news. He placed the files on the table. I found a contract. Shun picked up the first page. A world's will. The husky nodded. A low-level world. He smiled. Specifically requested my services. Ren laughed. So business found you this time. The husky proudly adjusted his tie. I have a reputation. Akira began reading the report. According to the dungeon system standards, the world was classified as low level. Shun looked at the husky. You called it low level. The husky nodded. By system standards. Shun closed the report. Compared to us. The husky smiled awkwardly. Quote. Very powerful. Daichi nearly choked on his tea. Wait, you call that low level? The husky shrugged. The system's standards are slightly unreasonable. Ren laughed. Slightly. The husky ignored him. He waved one paw. A three-dimensional projection of the world appeared above the table. This world has already reached the edge of ecological collapse. Monsters have overrun nearly every continent. The worlds will requested a full cleanup. He tapped the projection. Immediately, the planet broke apart into thousands of glowing fragments. The five watched carefully. I'm dividing the world into independent dungeons. Exactly as I do with every contracted world. Each dungeon represents only a tiny portion of the original world. Thousands of users will clear different regions simultaneously. When every dungeon is cleared, the entire world will be restored. Kyan nodded. So each dungeon is actually one piece of a real world. Exactly. The husky smiled. Nothing has changed. This is how my business has always operated. Shun looked toward the projection. We have one request. The husky tilted his head. Only one. For this project, we'll use only this world. No additional contracts. The husky blinked. Quote. That's unusual. Kyan explained. We need data. If users are spread across multiple worlds, our results become inconsistent. Ren continued. We want controlled conditions. Akira nodded. One world, one variable, one experiment. Daichi smiled. And if the experiment succeeds, we scale up. The husky stared at the five for several seconds. Then, a wide grin spread across his face. Ha ha ha, you really are researchers. He pointed at Shun. You're not trying to make money. He pointed at Kyan. You're not trying to level up as fast as possible. He looked around the table. You're conducting a large-scale experiment. The five smiled. Exactly. The husky closed the projection. I approve. This world will be reserved exclusively for the ninja world. No users from any other civilization will participate. He paused. This means, the cleanup speed will depend entirely on your world's people. Kyan nodded. Perfect. We'll finally have measurable data. Akira was already making notes. Average clear speed, user survival rate, dungeon completion efficiency, team cooperation, growth curves. Ren added another point. Adoption rate, how quickly people accept the system. Daichi laughed. So, the entire ninja world is about to become one giant research project. Shun smiled faintly. In a way, yes. The husky looked at the five with genuine curiosity. I also have something I want to measure. The room became quiet. What? The husky adjusted his tie. I want to know if your management model is actually better than mine. I've managed users by myself for countless years. You five proposed letting local managers build organizations from the ground up. He looked directly at Kyan. I want to see whether your idea really works. Kyan smiled. Then we're both conducting experiments. The husky extended his paw. Deal. Shun shook it. For the first time, the dungeon system and its five managers were no longer simply working together. They had become partners in the largest experiment either side had ever attempted. Somewhere far away, an entire world waited to be reclaimed. And soon, the people of the ninja world would unknowingly become the only civilization responsible for saving it. Chapter 79, The World's Greatest Game. 1 week later, the five sat before their laptops. The internet project had reached its first stable version. The dungeon system had already finished converting the contracted world into thousands of independent dungeons. Everything was ready. Kyan looked around the room. Final check. Akira immediately answered. The servers are stable. The network can support millions of simultaneous users. Ren nodded. The game client is complete. Installation takes less than 1 minute. Daichi grinned. The tutorials are finished. Shun looked at the husky. The dungeons. The husky adjusted his tie proudly. Ready. Every dungeon has been generated. Every reward table has been checked. No bugs. He paused. Quote. Probably. Everyone looked at him. The husky coughed. Quote. 99%. Daichi laughed. Good enough. Kyan opened the control panel. One large button appeared. Release. Dungeon online. He looked around the table. No objections. The other four smiled. None. Shun pressed the button. Across the entire ninja world, every phone vibrated simultaneously. Millions of people looked down. A new notification appeared. Major update available. New application installed. Dungeon Online. The world's first fully immersive adventure game. Play together. Grow together. Explore unknown worlds. People blinked in confusion. A game. Children immediately became excited. Adults became curious. Shinobi frowned. Merchants wondered whether it was another useful application. Within minutes, the update spread across every active phone. Inside Konoha, a group of academy students gathered around one phone. A new game, let's try it. One of them tapped the icon. A beautiful opening animation appeared. Then, the main menu. Welcome to Dungeon Online. Create character. A young boy frowned. Character. He pressed confirm. The next instant, a pillar of light surrounded him. He vanished. His friends screamed. 1 second later, he reappeared. Everyone stared. The boy looked at his own hands. I was really there. It wasn't an illusion. The same scene happened everywhere. The hidden sand, the hidden mist, the hidden cloud, the hidden stone. Thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. People entered the game. The first dungeon contained only 5 goblins. Weak, slow, easy to defeat. After clearing it, every player received the same notification. Dungeon cleared. Experience gained. Character level increased. People laughed. What a realistic game. The combat feels real. I even got tired. No wonder it's called fully immersive. No one realized the strength they gained inside had also slightly strengthened their real bodies. The changes were tiny, almost impossible to notice, exactly as the 5 intended. Deep within the hidden mountain, the management panel exploded with activity. Current players, 10,000, 100,000, 500,000, 1 million. The numbers continued climbing. Akira smiled. The adoption speed exceeded our predictions. Ren laughed. People really love games. Daichi looked at another graph. The beginner completion rate is over 98%. Kyan nodded. The first dungeon is easy by design. We want confidence, not frustration. The husky stared at the rapidly increasing numbers. He slowly turned toward the 5. I've never seen anything like this. Shun looked at him. What? The husky pointed at the screen. I usually spend decades recruiting users. You people, he swallowed, recruited over 1 million in 1 hour. Silence filled the room. Even the husky looked shocked. He slowly sat down. I think. I'm going to become the richest dungeon system in history. Daichi burst into laughter. Ren couldn't stop laughing either. Even Kyan smiled. Shun quietly looked at the world map. Millions of blue lights covered the continent. The experiment had officially begun, not as a war, not as a revolution, but as a game, and that was exactly why it would succeed. Chapter 80, the first week. 1 week passed. The success of Dungeon Online exceeded every prediction. The game had become the hottest topic in the entire ninja world. Children played after school. Merchants cleared dungeons after closing their shops. Farmers played after finishing work. Even retired shinobi secretly logged in every evening. No one wanted to fall behind. Inside Konoha, 2 academy students argued loudly. I'm already level 5, so what? I'm level 6. A nearby civilian laughed. You two are slow. I'm already level 8. The 2 boys stared at him in disbelief. How? The man proudly smiled. I've been playing with my wife. We cleared team dungeons. The boys immediately ran home. Mom, we're playing together tonight. In Sunagaku, several puppet masters had discovered something unusual. Teamwork inside the game made clearing dungeons much easier. Soon, entire families began forming fixed parties. Parents, children, friends, neighbors, people who had never fought together before, were now clearing dungeons every evening. Inside Kumogaku, competition exploded. Large rankings appeared automatically inside the game. Top 100 players. The moment people saw them, everyone became obsessed. I'll beat him tomorrow. No way. I'll reach level 10 first. Competition spread through every city. Deep within the hidden mountain, the 5 quietly observed the statistics. Akira opened a report. Interesting. He projected several graphs. The average player spends 2 hours inside the game every day. Ren smiled. That's healthier than I expected. Kyan nodded. We intentionally limited dungeon entries. 3 normal dungeons, 1 special dungeon, per day. Daichi laughed. Otherwise they'd never sleep. The others nodded. That restriction had been deliberate. They wanted a healthy ecosystem, not addiction. Another report appeared. Average daily growth. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3. Perfectly stable. Akira smiled. The progression curve is almost exactly what we predicted. Shun nodded. The first month determines long-term retention. So far, we've succeeded. Then, everything changed. The husky suddenly burst through a portal. His business suit was wrinkled. His tie was hanging loose. His eyes were bloodshot. Not just tired, but strained, overworked, like someone drowning in endless tasks. The 5 blinked. Ren asked, what happened? The husky didn't answer immediately. He slowly walked forward, then collapsed into a chair. Paperwork. So much paperwork. Daichi laughed. I thought you liked paperwork. I lied. The husky shouted, slamming his paws on the table. I've never processed this many users before. He pointed at the management screen. Millions. Do you know how many reports that generates? He took a deep breath. Then spoke again, more seriously. I usually manage worlds with controlled growth. A small number of beginner users at a time. Because beginners, he paused, are a nightmare. The 5 looked at him. The husky continued. A beginner user creates 100 times more paperwork than an experienced one. Errors, misuse, confusion, repeated mistakes. They generate reports for everything. He rubbed his temples. That's why I always limit how many beginners enter at once. He looked at the screen again. And you released millions of beginners at the same time. Silence. Akira calmly took a sip of tea. So, our system works. The husky stared at him. You're enjoying this. Akira smiled faintly. A little. Suddenly, 5 new screens appeared in front of them, each filled with endless documents. Requests, logs, error reports, user feedback, dungeon clear records, reward distributions, system audits. It didn't stop. It kept scrolling, and scrolling, and scrolling. Silence. Daichi slowly leaned forward. What is this? The husky grinned. Oh, you didn't think I would handle everything alone, did you? Ren frowned. Wait. No. The husky crossed his arms smugly. You 5 created this system. You manage it. Congratulations. You are now officially responsible for the paperwork of an entire ninja world. Silence. Akira stared at the endless documents. Ren's smile froze. Daichi's grin disappeared. Kaien rubbed his forehead. Shun quietly closed his eyes. Daichi spoke first. We look half dead already. Ren nodded slowly. I haven't even started. Akira adjusted his glasses. This is inefficient. Kaien sighed. We underestimated this part. Shun opened his eyes. Just bear with it. The first users always create the most paperwork. The husky burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. You people aren't even managing one complete world yet. And you already look like you're dying. He pointed at them dramatically. What will you do when you expand to multiple worlds? Silence. The 5 looked at each other. Then, without another word, they all started working. Click, scroll, approve, reject, analyze, repeat. Minutes passed, then hours. Daichi leaned back. I regret everything. Ren groaned. My brain hurts. Akira muttered. We need automation. Kaien nodded. Immediately. Shun calmly continued working. Version 2. The husky watched them, still laughing, still mocking, but deep inside, he felt something else. Respect. Because despite the overwhelming workload, despite the endless flood of paperwork, the 5 didn't stop. They adapted, they endured, they improved, and somewhere, behind the exhaustion, a terrifying realization began to form. If they could handle this, then nothing would be able to stop them. The husky slowly leaned back. These lunatics are going to change everything.